Dual Cultivation audiobook by Kevin Chapter 701, ensnaring formation after tossing the four elements root into the pill cauldron. Su Yang immediately began cleaning the impurities within the root before mixing it with the other ingredients. A few minutes later, the four elements root was completely mixed with the other ingredients. A few more minutes later, Su Yang said, "You can stop now." Hearing his words, Zhu Menji retrieved her azure flames. However, Su Yang continued to control his alchemy flames for another minute before gradually making the flames smaller until it completely disappeared. He then removed the lid on the pill cauldron and retrieved the pale green pill from inside. "What kind of pill is that?" Zhu Menji asked him afterward with some sweat on her forehead. "It's a pill that will strengthen one's immunity towards poison and all toxic substances," Su Yang said. "Why do you need a pill like that?" Zhu Menji raised her eyebrows in a puzzled manner. "It's a long story, so you should ask them." Su Yang pointed at the Zai family with his gaze. He then continued, "Anyway, now that I have the pill, we can enter the abandoned forest at any time. I'll give you guys some time to prepare. In the meantime, I'll go check on the devil blood ginseng." "Do you need one of us to come with you?" Zai Xingfeng asked him. "No, it's fine. I'm just going to harvest the devil blood ginseng before coming right back. It shouldn't take more than half an hour. Once I come back, we can talk about the abandoned forest." Zai Xingfeng nodded. Su Yang left the room shortly later. "Should I show you the guest rooms?" Zai Xingfeng asked Zhu Menji and the other two afterward, and they nodded. Once Su Yang left Snowfall City, he flew directly to the southern region, where the bandit hideout was. However, as he approached the location, he noticed a group of people standing around the exact area he was trying to go, and they appeared to be young disciples from some sect. Su Yang decided to descend right before these disciples, and when they noticed Su Yang, they quickly said to him, "Stop right there. Don't come any closer." Hearing their words, Su Yang looked left and right, almost as though he was looking for something. A few moments later, he returned to looking at the disciples before speaking in a puzzled voice. "If my eyes are not playing tricks on me, we are currently outside, not your house, so who are you to tell me to stay away? Can't you tell by looking at our uniforms? Are you blind?" One of the disciples quickly responded with hostility. Su Yang looked at their uniforms with a serious expression on his face, even narrowing his eyes. However, he still shook his head a few seconds later. "I have no idea. Who are you guys?" The disciple immediately fumed. "You can't recognize the Golden Star Formation Sect's uniform. Have you been living under a rock for most of your life? Golden Star Formation Sect. Never heard of you idiots," Su Yang said with a nonchalant expression on his face. "How dare you?" Right as the disciple took a step towards Su Yang with an aggressive-looking expression on his face, another voice resounded. "What's the commotion about?" The disciple immediately halted his movements and turned around to bow to the old man that was walking towards them. "Sect Master Cayenne." The disciples there bowed to him. The old man known as Sect Master Cayenne looked at Su Yang with a frown on his face, and he spoke a moment later. "What is your purpose here, young man? Can't you tell that this place has already been occupied by the Golden Star Formation Sect?" Because the old man is only at the peak of the Earth Spirit Realm, he was unable to sense Su Yang's Heavenly Spirit Realm cultivation base, hence his nonchalant attitude. "I should be asking you that question. What are a bunch of people from a sect doing in the middle of nowhere? As far as I'm concerned, there is only an empty cave over there," Su Yang said as he pointed to the cave behind them. "Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. And how dare you address the sect master so casually? Do you know who you are talking to?" The disciple immediately shouted at him. The old man, however, remained calm. "My disciple is right. You shouldn't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. This is the Golden Star Formation Sect's business. I don't know who you are or which sect you belong to, but you should leave before I find out, or what?" Su Yang stood there with a casual smile on his face, seemingly unwilling to leave. "What are you going to do?" Seeing this, the old man shook his head and sighed. "Young people these days have no respect for their elders." "Very well, since you insist on staying here, I'll help you." The old man suddenly waved his sleeves, and a few seconds later, a small, semi-transparent barrier in the shape of a box appeared around Su Yang, trapping him inside. "This is—" Su Yang looked at the tiny and thin formation that surrounded him with a speechless expression on his face. "Ha ha ha, you've screwed yourself now. That is the ensnaring formation. You are now trapped inside, and unless Sect Master Qian assists, you will not be able to leave." The disciples there began laughing loudly after seeing Su Yang's situation. "Don't worry, young man. I won't kill you. However, for disobeying your elders, I will have to punish you a little. Therefore, I will keep you trapped inside the formation until you repent your mistakes," said Sect Master Qian. "Anyway, I am going to return to working on the profound formation in the cave." Sect Master Qian then turned around and began walking back to the cave. "Ha ha ha ha!" However, Su Yang's sudden laughter immediately stopped the old man in his tracks. Chapter 702, Devil Blood Ginseng. "What's so funny, young man? Have you already gone crazy? It hasn't even been a minute since you have been trapped," Sect Master Qian said to him with raised eyebrows, puzzled by Su Yang's reaction. After laughing for a good moment, Su Yang wiped the tears in his eyes before speaking. "So you can see the formation in the cave, huh? You are not half bad, I'll give you at least that." "You also know about the formation." Sect Master Qian quickly frowned. The formation in the cave was profoundly powerful, so powerful that only he was able to see it and nobody else. And not even his friends that were top formation experts in this world could see it. In fact, he'd only found it by chance. "Yes, I do, and judging from your words just now, I can assume that you're trying to crack the formation. However, I have some unfortunate news for you. 1. You will not be able to crack that formation even if you tried for however long you have left in your life. 2. You won't be able to crack the formation even if every formation expert in this world were to work together for 1,000 years. And finally, if you think you can trap me inside this pathetic formation, you are in way over your head." Just who are you?" Sect Master Qian looked at him with wide eyes filled with shock. "You shouldn't stick your nose where it doesn't belong or you might get hurt." Su Yang casually lifted his right hand and gently poked the ensnaring formation with his index fingers. A second later, the entire ensnaring formation cracked like a mirror before exploding into countless tiny fragments, shocking everybody there, especially Sect Master Qian, who was very confident of his formation. "I am possible. Even though I didn't put too much power into creating the formation, it's not something a mere junior can shatter so easily." Sect Master Qian took a step back from shock, his gaze filled with disbelief. After destroying the formation, Su Yang looked at the old man and said, "Let me show you what a real ensnaring formation looks like." Su Yang snapped his fingers at the end of his sentence, and many formations suddenly appeared around Sect Master Qian and the other disciples there. Each of these formations had walls that were as thick as an adult's biceps, and there was enough room inside these formations for one to sleep in. This is. Sect Master Qian and his disciples looked at the formation that surrounded them with a shocked look on their faces. However, when they realized the power of these formations, they couldn't help but unconsciously admire the formations despite being trapped inside them. "Wait a second, this formation, it's very familiar to the one in the cave. Don't tell me you are the one who created it. Why? For what purpose did you create such a powerful formation there? What are you hiding? Who are you?" Sect Master Qian immediately began bombarding Su Yang with questions after realizing the truth. However, Su Yang merely shook his head and ignored the old man. He then approached the cave and went inside after removing the formation with ease. Once he was inside the bandits' hideout, Su Yang immediately noticed that the blood that was supposed to cover the floor had magically disappeared, almost like someone had entered this place and cleaned it. However, Su Yang knew very well that this was impossible, as his formation remained untouched, so this phenomenon could only be related to the devil blood ginseng. Su Yang then walked to where the devil blood ginseng was growing last time, and just as he'd expected, the devil blood ginseng was fully blooming and ready to be harvested. After carefully plucking the devil blood ginseng, Su Yang placed it inside a preservation box he'd prepared beforehand and closed it, keeping the devil blood ginseng fresh for essentially forever until the box is opened again. Once he'd obtained the devil blood ginseng, Su Yang returned outside, where the people from the Golden Star Formation sect were still trapped inside his formation. "Hey, let me out of here. Do you know who I am?" Sect Master Qian shouted at Su Yang after seeing him return. "I am Qian Lion, the #1 formation expert in the Eastern Continent. I have close relations, I.P.S. with the Zai family and even Lord Zai himself." Su Yang walked to stand in front of him and spoke in a mocking voice. "You are the #1 formation expert in the Eastern Continent. How laughable. I am telling the truth. I have personally assisted with the creation of many defensive formations around the Eastern Continent," Qian Lion said. Su Yang shook his head and said, "I don't doubt that you're the #1 formation expert in the Eastern Continent, as you were able to see my formation. Even though it was created last year when I just entered the heavenly spirit realm, it's still an achievement that you should be proud of. Therefore, I won't kill you. Instead, I'll just keep you trapped inside the formation for an entire month, as that's when the formation will deactivate by itself." "An entire month? That's crazy. You can't do that to me," Qian Lion said with a terrified expression on his face. "As an expert at the peak of the Earth spirit realm, you can live an entire year without food or water with relative ease, so you'll be fine. As for your disciples that are only at the profound spirit realm, well, they'll manage. While they won't die, they'll definitely suffer a little. Anyways, I am a busy man with places to be, so I'll leave now." After ending his sentence, Su Yang retrieved the wooden flying boat and jumped onto it before speeding away, ignoring the loud screams coming from behind him. A few minutes later, he returned to Snowfall City with the devil blood ginseng in hand. Chapter 703, Abandoned Forest. "Welcome back, Su Yang. How was the harvest? Did you manage to obtain the devil blood ginseng?" Zai Xingfeng asked after his return. "Yes, the devil blood ginseng is in here." Su Yang showed her the preservation box without opening it. "Now we just need the purple killin's blood, huh?" Lord Zai mumbled with a serious expression on his face. "I can go to the abandoned forest right now if you can't wait," Su Yang said to him. "I am coming with you, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng suddenly said. "Although I appreciate your offer, I think it would be for the best if you stay here with everyone else," Su Yang said to her. "Su Yang is right, Zinger. You are only at the first level heavenly spirit realm. It's too dangerous for you to wander in the abandoned forest even with Su Yang there. And while he may be able to protect himself, we cannot say the same for you," Lord Zai chimed in. "Just let Su Yang do his thing, Zinger. He'll be fine," Zai Wang also said. "But I don't want to feel useless." Zai Xingfeng sighed, as Su Yang has been doing everything for her recently. "And since I have the ability to enter the abandoned forest, I want to be there with you, Su Yang." Su Yang slightly narrowed his eyes, and he spoke after a moment of silence. "Well, it doesn't really hurt to have you with me, since I am confident that I would be able to protect you no matter the stances. It's just that I'd prefer it if you stayed clear from the dangerous environment in general. I am also a cultivator, Su Yang. A little danger won't stop me, or I am not qualified to be a cultivator," Zai Xingfeng said with a resolute expression on her face. However, there appeared to be a deeper meaning behind her words, and even Su Yang was barely able to pick up on this hint. "Well said," Su Yang nodded, and he said, "Can one even be considered a cultivator if they distance themselves from even the slightest danger for the rest of their life? Since you want to come with me to the abandoned forest, I won't say anything else." Zai Xingfeng nodded. "Haya, I knew you wouldn't be able to sit still," Lord Zai sighed, and he retrieved a storage ring before handing it to Zai Xingfeng. "There are a few life-saving treasures inside. Do not hesitate to use them if you are in trouble." "Thank you, father." Zai Xingfeng accepted the storage ring. Sometime later, Zai Wang said Su Yang as he prepared to leave with Zai Xingfeng. The abandoned forest consists of 3 layers, resembling sects with an outer area, inner area, and the center. The abandoned forest is also extremely large with hundreds of millions of acres of land, and the majority of the land is unexplored, especially the inner and center, hence why I have no map for you. Furthermore, while the purple killin can be found throughout the abandoned forest, its nest should be within the center of the abandoned forest. If you find its nest but not the purple killin itself, don't worry, as it will return at least once a week. I shouldn't have to say this, but you must be careful. I am well aware that you used to be an immortal in your previous life with immense experience, and you may be one of the strongest individuals in this world right now, but you cannot underestimate the abandoned forest, and a single mistake will cost you your life. I will keep that in mind. Su Yang nodded his head as he jumped onto the flying boat, and Zai Xingfeng followed him. I am serious, Su Yang. Don't underestimate the abandoned forest. Which direction is the abandoned forest? Su Yang asked Zai Xingfeng a moment later. Towards the east, she replied. Su Yang nodded before controlling the flying ship to fly towards the east. Once Su Yang left, Wu Jingjing asked Zai Wang, "I understand the situation after Zai Xingfeng told us about her condition, but she didn't mention this abandoned forest. What kind of place is it? And how dangerous is it really?" Hearing her question, Zai Wang sighed before speaking. "The abandoned forest is one of the most dangerous places in this world, with a toxic environment that forces even cultivators at my level away. It is so dangerous that we have only managed to explore some of the outer areas after 1,000 years, with anything beyond that barely touched. And while some people have managed to make it to the center area, most of them never came back. As for those who were fortunate enough to return alive, they could only recall the things they have experienced there, as making a map for the place was seemingly impossible. The place is that dangerous," Zhu Minji said with a slight frown on her face. "It may be dangerous, but there's no need to worry about Su Yang. I'm sure he'll stroll through the place like it's his own home or something," Wu Jingjing said with a calm expression on her face. Meanwhile, a few 100,000 miles away, Su Yang suddenly stopped the flying ship. "So this is the abandoned forest, huh? No wonder why your grandfather kept on warning me this place is indeed quite the dangerous place," Su Yang said as he gazed at the boundless forest a few miles in the distance that was also covered in this thick purple mist. "Despite being immune to the poison mist, my body still trembles before it. The abandoned forest, why does it even exist?" Zai Xingfeng sighed. Su Yang smiled and said, "This is heaven's way of assisting us, cultivators. Although it may be extremely dangerous, it is also extremely rewarding for those who dare to challenge it. If being a cultivator was easy, the strong wouldn't be revered as much, and one wouldn't demand respect. Most peak experts in my world are peak experts because they manage to survive the most dangerous situations compared to the rest." "I see." Zai Xingfeng nodded, finding what he said very logical. Chapter 704, Abandoned Forest 2. "Anyway, let's try to look for the purple killin from up here where the poison can't reach us," Su Yang said. "The poison mist may not affect us from up here for now, but once we reach the inner area, the poison mist will also be in the sky, and we won't be able to see anything from up here. Furthermore, the poison mist also blocks our spiritual sense, so we won't be able to look around with our divine sense, Zai Xingfeng explained to him. That's fine. Let's just see what we can find from the outer areas. Su Yang nodded his head as the small wooden boat began traveling over the outer area of the abandoned forest. As they spent an hour looking around the outer area, Su Yang noticed that there was a surprisingly high number of people exploring the abandoned forest. As one would expect from cultivators, no matter how dangerous the place is, there will always be a cultivator willing to explore it in hopes for a fortunate encounter. Su Yang spoke with a smile on his face. The poison mist in the outer area of the abandoned forest is somewhat endurable with the assistance of some medicine and treasures, but it is still very dangerous for the majority of cultivators. In fact, the mortality rate just from the outer areas is extremely high at over 70%. The inner areas have a 90% mortality rate, whilst 99% of people who enter the center area will never come back, Zai Xingfeng said, and she continued a moment later, Su Yang, compared to the most dangerous places in your world, how dangerous is the abandoned forest? Ha ha ha. Su Yang laughed at her question before speaking. The abandoned forest is like a stroll in the park compared to some of the most dangerous places in the divine heavens. Although this place is indeed quite dangerous for the majority, as long as you prepare yourself properly, the abandoned forest isn't an issue at all. In the divine heavens, however, there are places that will remain dangerous no matter how much you prepare for it, and there are even places where your cultivation cannot be used. For example, it's like trying to enter the abandoned forest while fully naked, or swimming in the Jade Sea without any cultivation. Unable to use your cultivation. Zai Xingfeng covered her mouth from shock, as she cannot imagine doing either of what he just said. Anyway, the abandoned forest may be dangerous even for me if not for the poison immunity pill, but as I'd said, as long as you're prepared, this place isn't all that bad, Su Yang said, and they continued to fly around the outer areas. A few hours later, once they have pretty much circled around the abandoned forest multiple times without seeing the purple kiln, Su Yang said, "Let's head to the inner areas now." Okay, Zai Xingfeng nodded. A few minutes later, Su Yang stopped the flying boat right before the poison mist that filled the air. What do you think, Su Yang? Will the poison immunity pill work? Zai Xingfeng asked him. Yes, he nodded before he continued. However, I'd hope to save the pill until we reach the center area, but this poison is much stronger than I'd anticipated, so I will have to consume it now. How long will the pill last? Zai Xingfeng then asked him. It mostly depends on the strength of the poison I am facing, with it lasting 7 days usually. In this case, this poison is quite potent, so the pill will only last me 4 days before its effects go away. However, if the poison is already this powerful in the inner area, I can only imagine how much stronger the poison will be near the center. If we're lucky, I will have at most 24 hours before the pill becomes useless. 24 hours. If we cannot find the purple kiln and obtain its blood before then, we'll retreat for the time being, Zai Xingfeng sighed. A moment later, Su Yang retrieved the pill and tossed it into his mouth. After swallowing it, he said, "Let's go." Su Yang immediately controlled the flying boat to enter the poison mist. However, because of the density of the poison mist, they were unable to see anything while on the flying boat, forcing them to descend and travel on foot. Once they were near ground level, they began flying around, as it was much faster than running with their legs, not to mention the puddles of toxic substances laying everywhere. After traveling for a few minutes, they encountered their first spiritual beast, an enormous lizard with purple pointy scales, and with a cultivation at the peak of the true spirit realm. That's a Bane lizard. Even though it's only at the true spirit realm, its saliva is highly toxic and can instantly kill even a cultivator at the heavenly spirit realm. Zai Xingfeng warned him, and right as the Bane lizard noticed their presence, Su Yang swung his arm as though it was a sword. Whoosh! An arc of light created by sword chi flew at the Bane lizard, separating its body into two pieces and killing it before it could even react. What was that? It resembled sword intent, but it felt nothing like it, and it's so much more powerful. Zai Xingfeng cried inwardly after witnessing sword chi for the first time. After killing the Bane lizard, they continued to fly towards the center of the abandoned forest, encountering a spiritual beast every few minutes. However, Su Yang would take care of these spiritual beasts with ease before they could even react, much less retaliate. And as they got closer to the center of the abandoned forest, the spiritual beasts also grew stronger. But alas, before Su Yang's powerful sword chi, it didn't matter how strong they were, as they would inevitably be slain by him in a single strike. As for Zai Xingfeng, she closely followed Su Yang, silently admiring his domineering figure from behind, her gaze filled with wonder. Chapter 705 Abandoned Forest 3. After traveling for half a day, Su Yang stopped advancing once they reached a small lake that appeared to be profoundly deep with a bottom. "Is there something wrong with this place?" Zai Xingfeng asked him when he suddenly stopped moving. "No, but I'll be right back. Give me like 5 minutes. If something goes wrong while I am gone, immediately use your life-saving treasures and get out of the abandoned forest." After saying that, Su Yang dived into this mysterious lake without any explanation, greatly shocking Zai Xingfeng. "Su Yang!" Zai Xingfeng cried out loud, but alas, Su Yang was already too deep in the lake to hear her. Thus, Zai Xingfeng began to look around with alertness, and she quickly realized that without Su Yang by her side, the abandoned forest immediately appeared countless times more dangerous and terrifying, and even the slightest noise would cause her heart to skip a beat. Furthermore, a single minute without Su Yang by her side felt like an entire hour, and the second minute felt even longer, whilst the third minute felt like an eternity. 5 very, very long minutes later, Su Yang resurfaced from the lake and returned to her side. "Su Yang!" Zai Xingfeng sighed in relief after seeing his face again, feeling like a lost child who reunited with her parents. "What were you doing in the lake?" she then asked him. "I'm sorry for leaving you alone so suddenly and without an explanation, since I wanted this to be a surprise." Su Yang showed her the thing he retrieved from the floor of the lake. It was a beautiful flower with azure-colored petals and a glowing stem. Could this be? Zai Xingfeng covered her mouth from shock. "Yes, it's the flower of luminosity. It's a rare treasure that can boost one's constitution, and it will assist your cultivation and body greatly after we cure your current condition," Su Yang said as he extended it to her. "Why you're giving this to me? Are you sure? This is a priceless treasure that has appeared only once 800 years ago and has never shown up again until now." Zai Xingfeng hesitated to accept it. "It may be rare, but I have no use for it, and since it can improve one's constitution, it'll benefit you the most," Su Yang said, and then he continued, "And once I return to the divine heavens, there will be plenty of treasure that will make this flower of luminosity look like nothing." Divine heavens. Zai Xingfeng mumbled in a low voice before accepting the flower of luminosity a moment later. "Thank you, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng said to him afterward. "Don't even mention it," Su Yang smiled. "Anyway, let's continue heading towards the center. Since my pill will only last me for so long, it would be for the best if we tried our luck at the purple killin's nest," he continued before he started moving again. Zai Xingfeng nodded, and she closely followed him again. Nearly an entire day later, they stopped again. "We've finally arrived at the center, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng suddenly said to him. Before them, unexpectedly, there appeared to be no poison mist, almost as though it had suddenly disappeared. However, if they were to look up into the sky, the poison mist still existed, and it appeared to be even thicker than the poison mist in the inner area. Although it doesn't seem like the poison mist is there, that's actually not true. For some reason, the poison mist is transparent in the center of the abandoned forest, and this has tricked many people, causing many deaths before people finally realize the real situation, Zai Xingfeng explained to him. That's because the poison mist in the center is completely different from the poison mist in the outer and inner areas, and it's at least 10 times more potent, Su Yang said, after a brief examination of the clear poison mist with his smell. 10 times. Then how much time do you think your pill will last? Zai Xingfeng asked him. Since half of the pill's power is already gone from the inner area, I'm afraid that I have at most 10 hours before I have to leave. Though I can extend it by around 2 hours if I cultivate and focus on defending myself from the poison mist. 12 hours, huh? Then let's hope the purple kiln is already in its nest by the time we arrive, Zai Xingfeng sighed. Su Yang nodded, and once they stepped into the center of the abandoned forest and the transparent poison mist, they quickly began looking for the purple kiln's nest, as every minute counted from this point forth. Watch out, Su Yang. Zai Xingfeng suddenly warned him when she noticed something small flying towards his face. Su Yang glanced at the needle-like object with a calm expression, and his body exploded with sword chi when the needle was a millimeter from touching his skin. After destroying the needle until nothing was left, Su Yang flicked his arm, sending his sword chi flying into the distance. Boom! The ground shook violently a second later before quickly calming down again. What was that? Zai Xingfeng asked him afterward. No idea, but it was at the 3rd level heavenly spirit realm, and that needle contained some very powerful poison enough to kill even a sovereign spirit realm cultivator within seconds, Su Yang shrugged. Even a sovereign spirit realm cultivator cannot last a minute against the poison. Zai Xingfeng took a deep breath after hearing his words. By the way, I have been wondering for a while now, but what kind of techniques have you been using? It feels like sword intent, yet it's not. Zai Xingfeng then asked him. Oh, it's sword chi, and it's 1 level above sword intent, he calmly responded. Sword kai. Zai Xingfeng looked at him with a dazed face, as this is her first time hearing such a term. Chapter 706, Purple Kiln's Nest. After a brief break, Su Yang and Zai Xingfeng continued to look around the abandoned forest for the purple kiln's nest. However, since they were unable to use their spiritual sense, they were forced to wander around aimlessly, hoping they'd be fortunate enough to encounter it. Purple kiln. They normally live where the toxicity is the strongest, so as long as we can pinpoint the location with the strongest poison mist, we should be able to find its nest, Su Yang said. But how are we going to do that? Is there a way for us to tell which area contains more poison mists? Zai Xingfeng asked. There is. Su Yang closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He then opened his eyes and turned to look in a certain direction before speaking. The poison mist coming from that direction is slightly more intense than the other directions. If we follow that direction, we should reach the purple kiln's nest sooner or later. Zai Xingfeng nodded and they began following the trail. As they approached the location with the deadliest poison mist, their encounters with magical beasts also increased. Whoosh, 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 boom, boom, boom. The earth shook violently for a moment every time Su Yang used his sword chi to instantly slay any magical beasts that dared to threaten him or Zai Xingfeng. After spending an hour following the trail without any breaks, Su Yang and Zai Xingfeng finally stopped in front of a massive boulder that had its center caved in, looking like someone had punched the center of a ball of dough, and there were even large leaves neatly placed inside the rock, resembling a nest for some large beast. This looks like a nest. And that thing in the middle, Zai Xingfang's eyes widened when she noticed the round and large object sitting in the middle of this nest. It's an egg, and judging from its size and shape, it should belong to the purple killin, Su Yang said a moment later. A purple killin egg. This is massive, Su Yang. If we can obtain this egg and train the baby purple killin, it could potentially become one of the strongest guardian spirit in the eastern continent, Zai Xingfang said to him. While that may be the case, it's also extremely hard to train a purple killin even if you start right after its birth, as they are naturally aggressive towards others, Su Yang said to her. Even if that's the case, we can't just leave such a priceless treasure here, because purple killins can only be found in the abandoned forest. Not many people have seen them before. It'll be an incredible event if one was brought back to the outside world, Zai Xingfeng said. Su Yang nodded. Since we're already here and the egg exists, there's no reason why we should leave it here. Though we still need to deal with the purple killin first, or it might go on a rampage if it realizes that its child had been taken from her, which could endanger the outside world. Zai Xingfeng then said, speaking of the purple killin, I don't see it anywhere. Let's hope it'll return within the next few hours before your pill loses effect. Since it has a baby, the purple killin will be returning more often than normal to check up on the baby, so there's a high chance that it might return within the next few hours. I still have around 7 hours, 9 hours if I start cultivating now. Zai Xingfeng nodded and said, I'll keep watch for you so you can focus on cultivating. If the purple killin doesn't show up in 8 hours, we're leaving. If the purple killin is the lord of this place, we shouldn't have to worry about other creatures approaching this place, Su Yang said as he took a seat beside the nest. Once Su Yang closed his eyes and began his cultivation, Zai Xingfeng approached Su Yang and stood right beside him, and she began looking out for any signs of danger. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. 3 hours passed by in the blink of an eye for Zai Xingfeng while she was focused entirely on defending Su Yang, yet there were still no signs of the purple killin returning. After another hour of waiting, it suddenly started raining, and this rain was obviously abnormal and was extremely toxic. Su Yang, are you okay? This rain seems to be even deadlier than the poison mist, she asked him in a worried voice. Su Yang stopped cultivating and said, I am okay, but this rain will further weaken the effects of my pill, shortening it by another 2 hours, so I have around 4 hours left or 3 hours. 3 hours, Zai Xingfeng mumbled with a frown on her face, but alas, there was nothing she could do to help Su Yang in this situation unless she could somehow give Su Yang her heavenly constitution, the 1,000 poisons body. If I could give Su Yang my heavenly constitution. A thought suddenly appeared in Zai Xingfeng's head, and she slowly turned to look at Su Yang with the corner of her eyes. If I recall correctly, the reason the Moonlight Blades wanted me was because of my heavenly constitution, as whoever I give my first time to will also obtain my heavenly constitution. Su Yang, even though I dislike the fact that he has so many partners, I cannot disregard everything that he's done for me, nor can I disregard my feelings for him. Su Yang. He will leave this world in 2 years and return to his own world. The chance of us meeting again is incredibly slim to none. Su Yang. Even though he has many partners, he treats them all equally, and none of his current partners seem dissatisfied with their situation or neglected by him. After silently pondering to herself for an entire hour, Zai Xingfeng took a deep breath before looking at Su Yang with a resolute feeling in her gaze, looking like she'd finally come to a conclusion. Chapter 707, Zai Xingfeng's resolution. After pondering deeply for an entire hour, Zai Xingfeng finally came to a conclusion, and she turned to look at Su Yang before opening her mouth to speak. Su Yang. Her voice was shaky and filled with nervousness as she called his name, and her heart was beating like crazy, feeling like it was on the verge of bursting into flames. "What's the matter?" Su Yang turned to look at her with a calm gaze. Zai Xingfeng's body trembled after meeting his gaze, and her body uncontrollably froze for a moment. Seeing her weird movements, Su Yang raised one of his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. After a moment of awkward silence, Zai Xingfeng closed her eyes and opened it again. She then began moving again until she was standing right in front of Su Yang, who was still sitting in the lotus position. Taking a deep breath and releasing it, Zai Xingfeng suddenly squatted forward until she was sitting on Su Yang's lap. "Zinger!" Su Yang looked at her with wide eyes, clearly surprised by her actions. Zai Xingfeng did not immediately respond and instead wrapped her arms around his neck before speaking in a bashful voice. "Su Yang, you said that you are willing to listen to me whenever, right?" Once Su Yang nodded his head, Zai Xingfeng continued, "Then I want you to listen to me. I, Zai Xingfeng, is madly in love with you, Su Yang. I know that you already have many partners and I want to keep you for myself, hence why I have been hesitating on telling you, but I know that it is impossible to take you from the others and keep you for myself. Over the last few weeks, I have been contemplating whether or not I should tell you, and I have finally come to a conclusion. Su Yang, I want to be with you no matter how many women you have in your life. Even if I am not your favorite, even if you get bored of me, I still want to be by your side, as I cannot imagine living a life without you anymore." Tears began to flow from her eyes, and she felt as though a massive mountain had just been lifted from her shoulders after her confession. However, she was not finished, and she continued to speak with tears dripping from her beautiful face. "I know I am being selfish by doing this. And I am well aware that you might not even like me, but I still want you to accept me at least for today." And before Su Yang could even respond, Zai Xingfeng began loosening the top of her robes, revealing her beautiful and flawless breasts to Su Yang. After showing Su Yang her snow-white breasts, Zai Xingfeng wrapped her slender arms around his head and pulled him into her chest, gently pressing her soft breasts against his cheeks. "Can you hear it, Su Yang? My heart, it feels like it's going to burst out of my chest at any minute now, and I have never felt so excited and scared at the same time before," Zai Xingfeng mumbled in a low voice. Su Yang intensively stared at the pink tip that was fully erect on Zai Xingfeng's breast, as it was right before his face. A moment later, without saying any words, Su Yang moved his head forward and opened his mouth before kissing Zai Xingfeng's breasts and sucking on her soft nipples. "Ah tilde," Zai Xingfeng Ned in a surprised voice, feeling an unfamiliar sensation suddenly coursing through her body, yet she did not push Su Yang away. In fact, she tightened her embrace on him. Su Yang also embraced Zai Xingfeng's body, and he would continue to suck on her breasts for the next minute with Zai Xingfeng sitting on his lap. Tilde. Zai Xingfeng could feel Su Yang gently nibbling on her hard tips, forcing her to moan softly. A few minutes later, Su Yang removed his mouth from Zai Xingfeng's breasts and looked at her flushed and excited face. "Thank you, Zinger, for telling me your feelings. I know it was difficult, and I know you are still doubting yourself, but as I'd promised, I will help you remove those shackles of doubt so that you can express yourself freely." After saying those words, Su Yang placed his hand on the back of Zai Xingfeng's head before pulling her into his face and kissing her soft and luscious lips. Zai Xingfeng did not reject his kiss and closed her eyes to focus on his lips. After kissing for a few minutes, their heads separated from each other for a brief moment to breathe and look at each other in the eyes with a passionate gaze before their lips connected again, kissing even more passionately than before. They continued in this manner for many minutes, nearly an hour, until they were satisfied. "I never thought I would be doing this kind of thing within one of the most dangerous places in this world, the abandoned forest, no less." Zai Xingfang spoke in an exhausted voice, sounding like she was out of breath from kissing too much. This is what makes life exciting. There are things in life you simply cannot expect or control no matter what you do, Su Yang said with a smile on his face. Zai Xingfang nodded, and then she continued with a blush on her face. What should we do now? Su Yang looked at their surroundings for a moment before speaking. Since this isn't exactly a suitable place for cultivation, let's go up. He then retrieved the flying boat and jumped onto it with Zai Xingfang still in his embrace. They then flew straight upwards until they were surrounded by clouds in all four directions. We're going to do it here, Zai Xingfang said inwardly with a dazed face. Won't this make her an exhibitionist? Despite that, a small smile still appeared on her beautiful face, as she was simply too excited to finally cultivate with Su Yang to care about the minor things such as their location. Chapter 708, Penetrating Zai Xingfang. Let me make this a little bit more comfortable for us, Su Yang said to Zai Xingfang once they were inside the clouds, and he retrieved a small but comfortable mattress before placing it on top of the flying boat. Do you always carry a mattress around with you? Zai Xingfang looked at him with admiration in her gaze, feeling slightly baffled by his commitment and dedication. Of course, you never know when you'll need it. With today as an example, Su Yang said with a smile as he laid her body on the mattress. Su Yang, I don't think I have the strength to remove my clothes. Can you help me? Zai Xingfang asked him with her face still blushing. With pleasure, Su Yang loosened her robes and spread them over the mattress like a blanket. What do you think? Zai Xingfang asked him afterward with her face flushed with redness and her legs closed from embarrassment. It's beautiful, Su Yang said as his gaze gently looked at Zai Xingfang's perfectly slim body and flawless snow-white skin that resembled white jade, feeling as though he was looking at a graceful fairy who belonged to a masterpiece painting. His hands then gently caressed her body from between her breasts until it reached her clean and hairless cave. Let me please you for a bit. Su Yang then kneeled on the mattress and lifted Zai Xingfang's body and pulled her closer to his body before placing her soft thighs on his shoulders and her cave directly in front of his mouth. This is. Zai Xingfang's heart palpitated loudly and crazily, feeling as though there was a war drum being played in her heart. Once she was in position, Su Yang used his fingers to spread open the small slit between her legs, revealing the pretty and cute pink meat inside, and without further ado, he immediately began teasing it with his tongue. Zai Xingfang's body immediately tightened up with her legs tightly wrapped behind Su Yang's body. However, a few moments later, once her body began familiarizing itself with the feeling, her body naturally relaxed. Zai Xingfang Ned softly as Su Yang licked and kissed her little sister for many minutes, and her body would constantly tremble in delight, even releasing these milky substances in small but constant amounts. After spending many minutes tasting Zai Xingfang's pink meat and savoring her rich and milky yin qi, Su Yang laid her body back on the mattress before he began removing his clothes. This is a man Su Yang's. Zai Xingfang intensely stared at Su Yang's raging dragon that was thick, long, and rock-hard. Seeing Zai Xingfang's enchanted expression, Su Yang stood up and said to her, "Go ahead, it won't bite." Zai Xingfang nodded and kneeled before his rod. Once it was directly before her curious face, she gently grabbed it as though it was a fragile treasure, and she began licking the tip with her wet and small tongue, tasting the sweet and sticky substance that was oozing out from the hole. It's so stiff and hot, it looks painful, Zai Xingfang thought to herself as she slowly savored his rod. A few minutes later, Zai Xingfang opened her small mouth and tried to put the entire rod into her mouth, but alas, she was only able to manage to fit half of it inside her mouth, and she began to stroke her head in a graceful manner. Because she was afraid of hurting Su Yang, Zai Xingfeng made sure her every movement was made with consideration whilst trying her best to please him despite her lack of experience and knowledge. "Do you want to taste my yang qi?" Su Yang asked her. Zai Xingfeng looked at him from below and gently nodded her head with his rod still in his mouth, looking very seducing and sexy. A few moments later, Su Yang slowly released his yang qi so that he doesn't overwhelm Zai Xingfeng, who was much more delicate than his other partners. What an indescribable but pleasant taste! Zai Xingfeng closed her eyes and savored the yang qi that was being fed to her through Su Yang's straw. After swallowing a mouthful of yang qi in small quantities, Zai Xingfeng finally removed her mouth from his rod, allowing it to feel the cool breeze once again. "Both of our bodies are ready, are you?" Su Yang asked her afterward. "I am." Zai Xingfeng nodded and she continued, "Please make love with me, Su Yang." Hearing Zai Xingfeng's yearning voice, Su Yang kneeled on the mattress again before pulling her towards his body until his thick rod was poking the sealed entrance between her legs. "It's going to be painful at first because your hole is smaller than normal. However, if you want, I can help you relieve that pain with a special technique," Su Yang suddenly said to her. "No, it's okay. I want to experience this as intended. Even if it's painful, I want to experience it, so that I won't mistake this as a dream." "Okay," Su Yang nodded. A few seconds later, he began pushing his wet rod into her small and slippery entrance. "It hurts." Zai Xingfeng cried inwardly as she tightly clenched her jaws together to try and ease the intense pain coming from between her legs, and fresh blood was already flowing from her cave after accepting just the tip of Su Yang's sword. "What a tight hole," Su Yang thought to himself as tore her inner walls apart, feeling a crushing sensation around his meat stick. Although he could use the myriad transformation to adjust his sword to fit into Zai Xingfeng's hole better, that would be disrespectful to Zai Xingfeng, who wanted to accept him as who he is. A few moments later, Su Yang finally stopped, as he'd reached the end of her small and narrow cave. However, Su Yang was unable to fit his entire shaft into Zai Xingfeng's body, as there was about an inch of free space left. Chapter 709, A Serious Proposal. "Are you okay?" Su Yang asked Zai Xingfeng after his rod reached the end of her hole. "Is it all inside?" Zai Xingfeng asked in return. "I fit all I could inside," Su Yang nodded. "Go ahead, Su Yang. Use my body to please yourself. I can endure it," she then said to him. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, "That isn't right. I am not doing this just so I can relieve myself. I am doing this because I want you to feel good, not the other way around. Furthermore, this is more than just about pleasure. This is the beginning of our love, our relationship." Hearing his words, Zai Xingfeng's teary eyes actually began tearing up. "Thank you, Su Yang, for accepting me. I really, really love you." Su Yang bent over to kiss Zai Xingfeng on the lips. After removing his lips, he said, "I love you too. I am going to start moving now," he said a moment later. "Okay." Zai Xingfeng nodded with her slender legs spread wide open. Su Yang firmly grasped her soft thighs and began moving his hips shortly later, pumping his rod in and out of her small hole. Tilde. Although it was still painful for Zai Xingfeng at first and many minutes later, the pain eventually lessened, allowing her to fully indulge herself in the heavenly pleasure that wrapped around her body like a soft and warm blanket. Tilde. Tilde Zai Xingfeng Ned elegantly in a soft voice, and Su Yang's rod would stiffen a little more every time her heavenly voice tingled in his ears. "I want to embrace you, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng suddenly said to him with her arms spread. Su Yang nodded, and he lifted her body, allowing her to embrace his body while he continued to pound her lower mouth in the sitting position. Many minutes later, Zai Xingfeng said, "Let me please you now, Su Yang." After saying that, she placed her warm hands onto his chest before gently pushing his body onto the mattress. Once Su Yang was laying down, Zai Xingfeng stood up and sat on his body, and she began riding his body like a horse. A tilde, A and tilde, A tilde. Zai Xingfeng M.O.A. Ned loudly with passion in her voice as she moved her hips in a humping motion, thrusting Su Yang's stiff rod deep into her body. Once Zai Xingfeng began to slow down from exhaustion, Su Yang firmly grabbed onto her hips and lifted his own lower body, causing Zai Xingfeng to fall onto his chest. He then began moving his hips up and down, thrusting his pole in and out of her slippery hole. However, no matter how many times he penetrated or stretched Zai Xingfeng's small hole, the tightness remained the same. In fact, it only became tighter as Zai Xingfeng's full nature increased. Furthermore, no matter how tight Zai Xingfeng's hole was squeezing his rod, it did not feel painful or uncomfortable, only the opposite. What an amazing body! Zai Xingfeng, you are truly a phenomenal woman. Su Yang couldn't help but admire the feeling of Zai Xingfeng's body. Even in his previous life, there were very few women who could satisfy his little brother to such an extent so naturally without the use of any dual cultivation techniques, and it was as though Zai Xingfeng's body was made to please him. After a few more minutes of cultivating, Su Yang said, "I am going to release my Yang Qi now." "Go ahead, fill my body with your essence," Zai Xingfeng said. The next moment, tilde. "It's so hot tilde," Zai Xingfeng M.O.A. Ned loudly as Su Yang's burning hot Yang Qi filled her small hole. Ha. Zai Xingfeng panted heavily while she rested on Su Yang's chest that was surprisingly cool when her own body was covered in sweat. While Zai Xingfeng rested, Su Yang spoke. "Zinger, you want to follow me to the divine heavens, right?" "I don't care where you go, Su Yang. I only want to be by your side," she mumbled in a low voice. "Then do you want my family seal?" he asked. "Family seal, the same ones as those girls from the holy central continent." "That's right. However, there are family rules everyone must abide by." Su Yang proceeded to explain to her the family seal and the family rules within the Su family. "What do you think? Do you accept?" "Yes, I accept," she gently nodded. "Then I have another proposal for you," Su Yang continued. "Proposal?" "Yes, and you are the first woman to officially receive this proposal, as I have never seriously asked another woman this even in my previous life." Hearing such words, Zai Xingfeng lifted her head to look at him with a surprised face, her eyes filled with curiosity and enthusiasm. "Zinger, do you want to bear my child?" Su Yang asked her with a serious expression on his face. "You want me to bear your child?" Zai Xingfeng's eyes widened with shock, as she didn't expect things to move this fast. "You don't want to? That's not it. I am just surprised," she quickly responded. And she continued, "Can I really bear your child, Su Yang? I did ask you, didn't I? Even I wouldn't dare to tease you with something like this," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. "I am willing," Zai Xingfeng immediately said afterward. "I want to bear your child, Su Yang. No, please let me bear your child." Su Yang suddenly poked her nose and said with a smile, "Why are you begging?" "I am the one asking you to bear my child, silly." Sometime later, they began cultivating again with the intent of creating their first child together. "This will not only give you the family seal but also a baby, Zinger," Su Yang said to her. "Go ahead, Su Yang. I am me. 1, 2, 3. I am willing to bear as many children as you want me to bear." Zai Xingfeng spoke in a passionate voice. A few moments later, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into Zai Xingfeng's body, and his tiny white warriors immediately began working on invading and fertilizing her egg. Chapter 710, Purple Killin's blood. After squeezing out the last drop of his Yang Qi into Zai Xingfeng's body, Su Yang removed his divine rod from her hole before sealing it with a talisman to contain his Yang Qi inside her body for guaranteed fertilization. Su Yang. Zai Xingfeng looked at him with a passionate gaze as she laid on the mattress with her body completely exhausted and glistening with sweat. "How do you feel?" Su Yang asked as he laid beside her. "Like I am dreaming," she said in a low voice and a warm smile on her face. Su Yang chuckled at her answer before smearing some of his blood onto the family seal that had appeared on Zai Xingfang's body. "I am going to cultivate a bit," Su Yang then said to her. Sometime later, a profound aura emitted from Su Yang's body as he had a breakthrough, reaching the 9th level heavenly spirit realm. "You can continue to rest up here while I wait for the purple Qilin. Now that I also have the 1,000 poisons body, I no longer have to worry about the poison mist," he said to Zai Xingfang. And before leaving her side, Su Yang formed a concealment formation around the flying boat so that Zai Xingfang could rest peacefully. After returning to the purple Qilin's nest, Su Yang found a place to sit down and continued cultivating. Although he now has the 1,000 poisons body from taking Zai Xingfang's I nitty, he still needed to control it and slowly merge it with his physique so that it won't affect the rest of his body in the future. And since he has already done this over 100,000 times with 100,000 heavenly constitution, the process was completed as easy as it was breathing. Of course, since the 1,000 poisons body originally belonged to Zai Xingfang, and he simply absorbed some of its power, it wasn't as powerful as the 1,000 poisons body, and was only as effective as the 100 poisons body. If Su Yang really wanted the original strength of the 1,000 poisons body, he would need to use some evil cultivation technique to forcefully take Zai Xingfang's heavenly constitution for himself. However, that would result in Zai Xingfang losing her heavenly constitution, and only evil cultivators would resort to such foul tactics. With that being said, even though his 1,000 poisons body is not powerful as it should be, it was more than enough to resist the poison mist within the abandoned forest. After waiting a couple of hours, Su Yang suddenly opened his eyes. A second later, the earth trembled, and a loud roar resounded above him as the purple Qilin appeared. "So you're finally back, huh?" Su Yang mumbled as he stood up and looked at the purple Qilin that was emitting the power at the peak of the heavenly spirit realm, which was far stronger than what Zai Wang had estimated. Ruwar, the purple Qilin, released another ear-piercing cry when it saw that a human had invaded its territory that also housed its unborn child. "Let's get this over with. I don't like the air in this place. It smells like shit." Su Yang calmly approached the purple Qilin with sword chi radiating from his body. The purple Qilin immediately rushed at Su Yang with its mouth wide open before it suddenly spat out a large blob of toxic spit at him. Boom! The sword chi around Su Yang exploded, destroying the toxic spit before it could even reach him. "How disgusting!" Su Yang shook his head, and he casually waved his sleeves. Whoosh! An enormous arc of sword light suddenly flew at the purple Qilin. And just as the sword chi was about to slice the purple Qilin in half, it suddenly jumped back and disappeared into this portal, dodging the sword chi. Su Yang raised an eyebrow after seeing this, but he did not panic. After a moment of silence and stillness, Su Yang suddenly turned around while swinging his arm. Whoosh! Another blade of sword chi flew from his arm, yet there was nothing in the direction that he'd just attacked. However, a second later, a portal appeared where the sword chi was flying, and right as the purple Qilin popped its head out of the portal, the sword chi was already in front of its face. Sha! The purple Qilin was immediately beheaded, and the rest of its body fell out of the portal a second later. Su Yang immediately retrieved multiple vials from his storage ring to collect the purple Qilin's blood, until he had over 100 vials of purple Qilin blood, which was more than required to heal Zai Xingfang's condition. Once he'd collected nearly all of the purple Qilin's blood, Su Yang went to pick up the large egg inside the nest before returning to Zai Xingfang's side. "Do you have the purple Qilin's blood?" Zai Xingfang asked after seeing him. "I do. Are you ready to return home?" She nodded. After storing the mattress back into his storage ring, Su Yang controlled the flying ship and flew back to Snowfall City with Zai Xingfeng sitting directly beside him and with her head resting on his shoulders, looking like intimate couples. Sometime later, they returned to the others. Su Yang, Zinger, you're back. Do you have the purple killin's blood? Zai Wang greeted them with a nervous face. Yes, they're right here. Su Yang showed him the vials. Ahahaha, this is perfect. Now Zinger can finally be healed. Zai Wang laughed in excitement. Meanwhile, Lord Zai was silently staring at Zai Xingfeng with a puzzled expression on his face. Is it just me, or is there something different about Zinger? He wondered to himself. He then noticed that Zai Xingfeng was standing much closer to Su Yang than she normally would in the past, so close that they were nearly clinging to each other. As for the three ladies with Su Yang's family seal, they immediately realized the situation once they saw Zai Xingfeng and felt a connection with her. So you finally accepted your feelings, huh? Lion Li said to herself with a slight smile on her face. Chapter 711, creating the antidote anyway. What are we waiting for? Now that we have collected all of the ingredients, let's hurry up and heal Zinger. Zai Wang said a moment later. Calm down, old man. There's no need to be so impatient. Nothing will have to Zinger even if we wait a few more days, Su Yang said to him. Huh, why wait when we can heal her now? Zai Wang asked him with wide eyes. Su Yang shook his head and said, just because we have the ingredients does not mean we can immediately use them. We will need at least another week to prepare the antidote for her condition. Is that so? Zai Wang nodded, and then he looked at the large egg in Su Yang's hands and asked, by the way, what kind of egg is that? I have never seen anything like that before. That's the purple killin's unborn baby. We brought it back with us hoping to grow and train it to become a powerful guardian spirit for the eastern continent, Zai Xingfeng said. What? The purple killin's baby? Zai Wang and Lord Zai exclaimed at the same time. Purple killins? Lion Li raised her eyebrows, hearing of their existence for the first time since they did not exist in the holy central continent. Even if you say that. How exactly do we train purple killins? And how long do they usually take to hatch? Lord Zai asked. Zai Xingfeng turned to look at Su Yang for help. Su Yang looked at the purple killin egg for a moment before speaking. Judging from the spiritual energy coming from this thing, it should hatch within 4 to 6 months. 6 months, huh? That's not bad. As for training purple killins, I have no idea since they're not really guardian spirits. Though purple killins obey the strong, so as long as assert your dominance and let it know that you are its owner, it should listen to you. We cannot train it as a guardian spirit, Zai Xingfeng said in a surprised voice. Su Yang shook his head and said, guardian spirits are called guardian spirits for a reason. Not every magical beast has the capability to become a guardian beast. However, that is not to say you cannot train magical beasts to act like one, as the concept is pretty much the same. I see, Zai Xingfeng nodded. Anyway, you can take this thing. I am going to prepare the medicine for Zinger. In the meantime, bring me some more ingredients, Su Yang said as he handed the large egg to Zai Wang before pulling out a piece of paper and brush. After writing a list of things, he handed the list to Lord Zai and said, the ingredients listed there are neither rare nor hard to find, but I will need them in large quantities. Have it ready before the medicine is ready next week. Lord Zai was speechless. When did the Zai family start working for Su Yang, and why are they being treated as though they were his servants? But alas, as much as he wanted to complain, he didn't dare to utter a single word, as he had enough of being scolded by Su Yang, and it was much easier to just do as he was told than to argue with Su Yang since it was impossible to win against him. After handing the list of ingredients to Lord Zai, Su Yang said, I am going to go into closed cultivation for an entire week until the medicine is ready. Do not disturb me until then. The people there nodded before watching Su Yang calmly return to his room. Once Su Yang locked himself inside his room, he retrieved all of the ingredients needed to create the antidote in a cauldron and began working. Meanwhile, the Zai family scrambled to gather the new ingredients listed by Su Yang. Heavens, why does he need so much medicine? They may not be rare, but wanting such large quantities of medicine with such a short notice is also as difficult as gathering rare medicine. Lord Zai complained to the empty air as he organized the entire thing. This is enough medicine to last an entire sect for multiple years or treat over 1 million patients. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfeng was dragged by Zhu Minji and the other ladies into another room, where they spent an entire week talking to each other about their experience with Su Yang and anything related to Su Yang, almost like a group of girls during a sleepover. A week passed in the blink of an eye, and after leaving his room, Su Yang went to look for Lord Zai to retrieve his ingredients. "Do you have them?" Su Yang asked Lord Zai, who had an annoyed expression on his face. "Take it." Lord Zai tossed a storage ring to Su Yang. "What about the antidote? Is it complete?" Lord Zai asked Su Yang afterward. "Yes, I am going to treat Zinger now." Su Yang nodded. "Really, I will come with you," Lord Zai said. "Do whatever you want." Lord Zai then followed Su Yang around. Sometime later, everyone was gathered before Su Yang. "Zinger, I am going to treat your body today," Su Yang said to her. "Okay, I just need to bathe in it, right? The bath is already prepared. We can do this whenever we're going to do this elsewhere." Su Yang suddenly interrupted her. "Huh, where are we going to go?" Zai Xingfeng asked with raised eyebrows. "Follow me." Su Yang proceeded to lead everyone outside Snowfall City and towards the mountain range a few miles away. "This direction is the Celestial Pond." Zai Wang immediately realized where Su Yang was trying to bring them. "That's right." Su Yang nodded. "But the Celestial Pond is closed already." Liu Lanjai said to him, still feeling slightly bitter about what had happened. "Closed? We'll see about that," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. Chapter 712, opening the formation. After reaching the location that contained the Celestial Pond, Su Yang proceeded to stare at the empty space for many minutes in silence. Meanwhile, the others there wondered what he was doing. "What's he doing?" Zhu Minji asked out loud, as this is her first time being there. "He's probably trying to break the formation that conceals the location of the Celestial Pond," Liu Lanjai said, and she proceeded to explain to them the Celestial Pond in detail. The Celestial Pond only opens once every 100 years for 7 days before closing again. However, Su Yang thinks he can open the Celestial Pond sooner than that. Though, even if he can open the portal to the Celestial Pond, I don't know how he'll use the Celestial Pond since it recently dried up. Lord Zai, if I recall correctly, you doubted my abilities, right? You think I cannot open the portal to the Celestial Pond by myself, right? Su Yang suddenly looked at Lord Zai with a smile on his face. Lord Zai sighed inwardly, as he can already imagine the humiliation that he's about to experience once again. That's right. However, Lord Zai did not back down and nodded his head with a serious expression on his face. "And even if you somehow manage to crack the formation and open the portal to the Celestial Pond, the Celestial Pond has already dried up its resources, and unless you have heaven-defying abilities to restore the Celestial Pond, even you cannot do anything about it. You sound very confident about that, little boy. But are you confident enough to make another bet with me?" Su Yang narrowed his eyes at Lord Zai. Little boy." A strong chill appeared in Lord Zai's spine, and his body trembled a second later, yet he didn't dare to refute Su Yang, as he was indeed a mere child in the presence of someone who used to be an immortal. "If you want me to run around the city naked, then I will have to refuse." Lord Zai narrowed his eyes and said. "Ha ha ha. Don't worry, I won't ask for something like that. Instead, if I manage to open the formation and restore the Celestial Pond, I will take something you value the most in this world," Su Yang said, dumbfounding him. "What I value the most in this world?" Lord Zai raised his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. What did Su Yang mean by that? He couldn't understand the meaning behind Su Yang's words as it was too vague. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfeng immediately realized Su Yang's intent and blushed in the background. In return, if I cannot break the formation or restore the celestial pond, I will give you a divine-grade cultivation technique and a divine-grade martial technique that is above the immortal grade, Su Yang suddenly said, shocking everybody there. Divine-grade cultivation technique and martial technique. Are you serious? Lord Zai exclaimed in disbelief. Yes, it's something that belongs to the divine heavens. Su Yang nodded. Deal. Lord Zai immediately said a second later, as he was not willing to let go of such a chance no matter what he had to sacrifice. Very well. A mysterious smile appeared on Su Yang's face before he turned around and returned to facing the empty air. A few minutes later, Su Yang finally moved, and he gently tapped the empty air with his finger that was glowing golden light before drawing a complex pattern in the air, making it seem as though a firefly was flying around. After drawing the first symbol in the air, Su Yang continued onto the second one, a third symbol, until he drew 99 symbols in the air. This is the last one. Su Yang's eyes then flickered with a profound light, and he stabbed his finger into the air as though it was a sword, creating a streak of golden light in the air. Clang! A massive crack suddenly appeared in the air before exploding into countless fragments, revealing the hidden portal. Although I do not know who placed this formation here, it's actually quite complex. Furthermore, if one tries to force their way through the formation, it will explode, and the formation contains enough spiritual energy to blow up everyone here in Snowfall City instantly, Su Yang said afterward. What? Everybody there exclaimed in a shocked voice after hearing this shocking revelation. The formation could have exploded and destroyed the entire city. That's ridiculous. And you didn't even try to warn us before trying. What if you'd screwed up? You would have killed all of us, Lord Zai exclaimed in an angry voice. Ha ha ha, that's only if I tried to force my way through it. I didn't do that, so even if I'd failed, it wouldn't explode. Su Yang laughed at his reaction. Then what did you do? Lord Zai asked him. I opened it with the key, that's all, Su Yang shrugged. That doesn't even make any sense, Lord Zai frowned. It's the difference between someone opening a closed door with the keys and another opening the door with a forceful kick. It's two completely different things, Su Yang shook his head and said. Anyway, now that the portal to the celestial pond is opened, let's hurry and deal with the other problem, restoring the celestial pond. Su Yang then jumped into the portal without any hesitation, and the others quickly followed. Can Su Yang really restore the celestial pond? Lord Zai pondered to himself with a serious expression on his face as he entered the portal, as that would, without doubt, shake the entire world, allowing them to use the celestial pond multiple times without needing to wait 100 years every single time. Sometime later, once everyone was inside the portal, they approached the dried-up celestial pond and watched as Su Yang stood beside the golden tree before placing his hands onto it and closing his eyes, seemingly trying to analyze it. Many minutes of silence later, Su Yang opened his eyes, and he turned to look at Lord Zai with a smile on his face. Make sure you watch closely. You don't want to miss this, as this will be the moment I take your most valuable treasure. Chapter 713, Restoring the Celestial Pond. If you can restore the celestial pond, then hurry up and do it, Lord Zai said in a sighing voice, already feeling defeated despite nothing has happened yet. Su Yang then retrieved the ingredients he'd asked Lord Zai to obtain right before he entered closed cultivation, and tossed them all into the empty celestial pond. What the heck? This is why he wanted those ingredients, for the celestial pond. Lord Zai watched with wide eyes as Su Yang filled the small pond to the brim with enough medicine and herbs to last for many years. Once everything was inside the pond, Su Yang turned to look at Zhu Minji and said, Go ahead and use your alchemy flames to burn everything in here. Huh? Zhu Minji looked at him with wide eyes. You want me to burn everything, like until it turns to ashes? She asked him just in case. Yes, Su Yang immediately nodded. If you say so. Ji Menji then tossed a ball of her azure flames into the pond, quickly burning the medicine and herbs until only ashes remained. What on earth? Lord Zai stared at the pitch-black pond with a dazed expression on his face. How the hell is this going to restore the celestial pond? He couldn't help but exclaim a moment later. Just shut up for a minute and watch, won't you? Su Yang shook his head before returning to the celestial pond that is now filled with burnt medicine and herbs. He then retrieved a glass bottle from his storage ring that contained some mysterious liquid, and instead of pouring it into the pond of burnt medicine, he splashed it onto the golden tree. A few moments later, the golden tree released a drop of golden liquid, falling directly into the burnt medicines in the pond. The moment the drop of golden liquid from the tree touched the burnt medicine, almost as though it was being dyed, all of the burnt medicine in the pond quickly turned gold in a ripple effect. What the? Lord Zai and the others watched with wide eyes as the burnt medicine suddenly turned into something entirely different. Once all of the burnt medicine turned golden, Su Yang retrieved another bottle of liquid and poured it into the golden medicine. A few seconds later, the golden medicine began melting until the entire celestial pond was filled with golden water again, resembling what the celestial pond looked like before it had its resources dried up. Heavens! The celestial pond has been restored. Zai Wang cried out loud when he sensed the powerful spiritual energy emitting from the golden water. In fact, the water feels even more luxurious than normally. This is... Lord Zai suddenly began approaching the celestial pond. Once he was right before it, he kneeled on the ground and scooped up a handful of the golden water before staring at it intensively in silence. A few moments later, Lord Zai placed the golden water back into the pond before turning to look at Su Yang with a perplexed expression on his face. You win. What do you want from me? Lord Zai spoke in a defeated voice. However, despite losing the bet, he did not feel bitterness. In fact, he was overwhelmed with excitement and delight. And hearing Lord Zai's question, a smile appeared on Su Yang's face as he slowly lifted his arm and pointed towards Zai Xingfeng's direction. Your daughter I'll be taking Zinger, Su Yang spoke in a calm voice. You, what? Lord Zai could feel his eyes popping out of its sockets when he heard Su Yang's words. Even Zai Wang was no different as he stared at Su Yang with his eyes and mouth as wide as saucers. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfeng lowered her head slightly to hide the redness and smile on her face. Even Liu Lanjai and the other two disciples couldn't believe their ears and stood there with a dazed expression on their faces. Did you not hear me? I said I am going to take Zinger with me, as she is one of your most valued treasures. Su Yang repeated, a smile on his face. He then turned to look at Zai Xingfeng and spoke. Zinger, come over here. Zai Xingfeng nodded in a bashful manner before walking to stand beside him. Su Yang then wrapped his arm around Zai Xingfeng's shoulder before continuing with a smirk on his face. Zinger, your father has lost a bet with me, so I'll be taking you for compensation, and you'll be my woman from now on. Outrageous! Lord Zai shouted in an angry voice a moment later, creating ripples in the celestial pond. What are you angry about? You lost a bet, and as agreed, I'll be taking your most valued treasure, which is your daughter, Zinger. Or are you going to go back on your words, huh? Su Yang shook his head. You, Lord Zai pointed at him with his entire body trembling from anger. You tricked me, you bastard. Su Yang, you can stop teasing my father now, Zai Xingfeng said to him when things were starting to get out of control. What? Lord Zai turned to look at Zai Xingfeng with a dumbfounded gaze. He was being teased. Zai Xingfeng then turned to look at her father and spoke with a serious expression on her beautiful face. Father, your bet with Su Yang has nothing to do with this, as I would have followed Su Yang regardless of the results. You, huh? Lord Zai still held a dumbfounded expression on his face like a dumb chicken, as he was unable to comprehend the situation. Zai Wang, on the other hand, shook his head with a bittersweet smile on his face as he understood everything. Seeing that her father was still puzzled about the situation, Zai Xingfang sighed in a low voice before turning to look at Su Yang. "Su Yang, kiss me," she said to him with a rosy blush on her face. "With pleasure." Su Yang immediately lifted her chin with his hands before kissing her on the lips directly in front of Lord Zai. Oh, the next moment, Lord Zai's eyes rolled behind his head and fainted, and he fell into the celestial pond a second later, dumbfounding everyone there with his exaggerated reaction. Chapter 714. You'll never win against him, father. Zai Xingfang shouted in a surprised voice before she quickly went to drag Lord Zai out of the celestial pond so that he wouldn't drown, which will surely become one of the most ridiculous deaths ever in history for a cultivator at the heavenly spirit realm. If he cannot handle a little kiss on the lips, who knows how he'll react once he learns about that? Su Yang shook his head at Lord Zai's exaggerated reaction. "Zinger, have you really decided to follow him?" Zai Wang suddenly approached them and asked her. Zai Xingfeng nodded her head before speaking. "I no longer have any more hesitation or doubt in my mind or heart. I want to follow Su Yang no matter where he goes." Zai Wang released a long sigh before nodding. "I knew this day would come sooner or later. Despite your hesitation before, I knew it wouldn't last long with someone like Su Yang." He then looked at Su Yang and continued, "Congratulations on conquering my granddaughter, Su Yang. If it had been anyone else, I wouldn't be this calm or supportive. However, I know you will take care of her no matter where you guys decide to go." Zai Wang then picked up Lord Zai and said, "I'll take him back home for now, and don't you dare come back without a healthy body again." After Zai Wang left the celestial pond with Lord Zai, the others there also decided to leave them alone. "Good luck, Su Yang, Zinger," Liu Lanjai said to them before leaving. Once everyone disappeared from the celestial pond, leaving Su Yang and Zai Xingfeng alone, Su Yang said, "Let's get this over with, shall we?" Zai Xingfeng nodded. "We are going to use the celestial pond as your bath, as that would increase the effects of the poison and improve the chances of healing your body," Su Yang said. "Won't that also affect the celestial pond itself, if we contaminate it with the poison?" Zai Xingfeng expressed her concerns. "You don't have to worry about contaminating the celestial pond with the poison, Zinger, since the real celestial pond is this tree right here, and as long as we don't get it into its roots, it'll be fine. I have already created a formation around the tree to protect it against the poison later," Su Yang explained to her, relieving her of her worries. Su Yang then retrieved a dozen pills and around 7 bottles containing unknown liquids, placing them right in front of the celestial pond. "Are those?" Zai Xingfang could feel the toxicity coming from these items even without touching it, feeling as though she had returned to the abandoned forest. "Yes, these are the ingredients that were gathered for this occasion. Every single one of these could instantly kill even a sovereign spirit realm cultivator before they can open their mouth and scream." Zai Xingfang began to sweat after hearing his words. Despite having the 1,000 poisons body and being immune to nearly every poison in existence, bathing in such potent poison still caused her spirit to tremble. Seeing how Zai Xingfeng was trying to remain calm and hide her nervousness, Su Yang chuckled and said, "Don't worry, none of these poison items would affect you. If you still had the 100 poisons body, then perhaps you should be worried, but the current you can eat these and still be fine." And he continued, "Anyway, I am going to toss these into the celestial pond one at a time, and you will bathe in it at least 10 hours every time. This is going to take a few days, so you should get as comfortable as possible." Zai Xingfeng understood the meaning behind his words and began to remove her clothes, revealing her slender body and jade-like skin. Oh, you can also take off that talisman. Su Yang pointed at the area between her legs. Zai Xingfeng nodded and peeled the talisman from her slit, and Yang Qi immediately began flowing out like a waterfall. There's so much, Zai Xingfeng thought to herself as the Yang Qi dripped onto the floor, creating a small puddle beneath her. Zai Xingfeng suddenly realized something, and she turned to look at Su Yang with wide eyes. Does this mean I am already pregnant? Hearing her question, Su Yang nodded with a warm smile on his face. Yes, your egg should be fertilized by now. A bright smile appeared on Zai Xingfeng's face and she uncontrollably embraced him. Thank you, Su Yang, she said in an excited voice. Me too, Zinger. I am thankful that you chose me, Su Yang said. Sometime later, Su Yang tossed one of the poison pills into the celestial pond, instantly turning the golden liquid into a grayish color. Go ahead and start cultivating inside. I will let you know when you can stop so you can focus on cultivation, Su Yang said to her afterward. Okay. Zai Xingfeng dipped her toes on the water before stepping into the celestial pond and submerging herself in the toxic water. Once Zai Xingfeng closed her eyes, Su Yang also sat down and proceeded to watch over her like a guardian spirit. Meanwhile, back at the Zai family's house, Lord Zai finally woke up. What happened? Where am I? Lord Zai mumbled in a confused voice as he opened his eyes. You're back in your room, my son. Zai Wang, who was sitting not far away, said to him. Father. Ah, Zinger. Lord Zai quickly recalled what happened at the celestial pond and said, Tell me that was a dream, that my daughter didn't kiss Su Yang right before my eyes. Hearing his words, Zai Wang smiled and said, You should have known about Zinger's feelings for Su Yang long ago, so why are you acting so shocked now? Just give up and let Su Yang have her, you'll never win against him anyway. Lord Zai frowned after hearing Zai Wang's words, but he didn't know how to respond to such words, as he was unable to refute Zai Wang's words. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com Chapter 715, Zai Xingfeng's Recovery. How is she doing? What about her condition? Lord Zai finally spoke after many minutes of silently sitting in his bed with a dazed expression. Su Yang should be treating her right now. We can only wait here while they do their thing. Zai Wang said. Lord Zai turned silent again for a few more minutes before he spoke. Su Yang, do you think he'll stay here and take my place in the future if I begged him? What do you think? Zai Wang shook his head and he continued. I think we both know the answer to that question. Haya, Lord Zai sighed and he turned to look at the ceiling. Looks like I will have to find another heir. However, in order to do that, I will have to find another wife, Lord Zai sighed again afterward. That's why I told you to find another partner when your previous wife passed in that accident, as things like this can happen. Zai Wang shook his head. But you also only had one child, me, Lord Zai then said. Well, I didn't have a daughter, nor is there someone like Su Yang running around during my generation. Zai Wang shrugged. He cannot imagine having to deal with Su Yang when he still sat on the throne. Whatever, Lord Zai shook his head before getting out of the bed. Where are you going now? I'm going to look for another partner, Lord Zai said. Now, Zai Wang looked at him with raised eyebrows and he continued, with Su Yang still here. If I were you, I would wait until he leaves this world before you bring another woman into this household. Who knows what might happen with Su Yang here? Lord Zai nearly tripped on empty air after hearing Zai Wang's words. However, after pondering about Zai Wang's words, Lord Zai found Zai Wang's words quite logical and decided that it would be safer to wait until Su Yang left this world. Meanwhile, in the celestial pond, Su Yang tossed the second poison pill into the water, causing the grayish water to become even darker and grimmer. About 10 hours later, Su Yang tossed another poison pill into the water. He continued this action until all of the poison pills were dumped into the water. Once all of the pills had gone into the water, Su Yang began pouring the bottles of liquid into the celestial pond, turning the already black water even darker until it resembled the night sky. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfeng could feel her body heating up more and more as time passed, until she was feeling no different than taking a steaming hot bath without the clean water and the steam. If you are feeling a sensation, that means the treatment is working. It may hurt a bit, but you need to endure it, Su Yang said to her after noticing that she was struggling. Zai Xingfeng nodded with her eyes closed. Many hours later, Su Yang poured the final bottle of liquid into the celestial pond. The instant this liquid touched the pitch-black water, as though a miracle had happened, the black water instantly cleared up, becoming nearly transparent. Su Yang looked at Zai Xingfeng's beautiful body through the transparent water, yet there was not a single hint of lust in his gaze. A few more minutes later, blood began seeping through Zai Xingfeng's body, dyeing the transparent blood red. Once the celestial pond had turned completely bloody, the water began to boil, causing Zai Xingfeng's body to sweat like crazy. Seeing this, Su Yang retrieved a medical herb from his storage ring and tossed it into the boiling water, quickly calming it down within a few seconds. A few more hours later, Su Yang spoke out loud, "Zinger, you can stop cultivating now." Zai Xingfeng opened her eyes after hearing his voice, and she turned to look at him. "Am I?" Su Yang nodded and said, "Yes, all of the poison within your blood has been ejected from your body. Take a look around you." It was at this moment Zai Xingfeng noticed that she was submerged in bloody water. Seeing this, Zai Xingfeng quickly left the celestial pond. Su Yang handed her a clean towel and said, "Don't put on your clothes yet." "Okay." Zai Xingfeng nodded as she dried her body, wondering what else needed to be done. Su Yang then waved his sleeves, surrounding the celestial pond with alchemy flames. A few minutes later, all of the water in the celestial pond evaporated from the intense heat coming from the alchemy flames. Once the celestial pond was empty again, Su Yang retrieved some herbs and tossed them into the celestial pond before burning them until black. Zai Xingfeng immediately realized what Su Yang was trying to do after witnessing the familiar process. "You're going to restore the celestial pond again." "That's right. And to celebrate your recovery, we're going to have some fun in it." Su Yang responded with a calm smile on his face. "Have some fun in the celestial pond." Zai Xingfeng's eyes widened with surprise after hearing his words. "You don't want to?" Su Yang asked her as he continued to restore the celestial pond. I do," she quickly said. Su Yang then said, "Once we have some fun alone, I'll call in the others." "The others, I understand." Zai Xingfeng nodded with a resolute expression on her face, as she has already accepted the fact that she won't always be alone with him, and that it was only natural for one man with many partners to have multiple people on the same bed at once. Seeing this, Su Yang smiled. A few minutes later, once the celestial pond has been restored for a second time, Su Yang removed his clothes, and he picked up Zai Xingfeng like a princess before entering the golden water. Shortly after entering the celestial pond, Su Yang inserted his rod into Zai Xingfeng's cave and began pounding her in the water, creating wave-like ripples in the celestial pond. Chapter 716. Four peerless beauties in the celestial pond. A tilde. Zai Xingfeng Ned passionately as Su Yang had his fingers firmly wrapped around her slender arms and pounded her full body from behind. The two of them have been cultivating for many hours now, as Su Yang cultivated with Zai Xingfeng without using any dual cultivation techniques, allowing her to endure it for much longer. After a few more minutes, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into her hole for the dozenth time, and the excess Yang Qi flowed into the celestial pond. "Ha! I need a break, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng said afterward. "Okay." Su Yang nodded, and Zai Xingfeng sat in the celestial pond a moment later like she was taking a casual bath. You can call the others in here if you want, Zai Xingfeng suddenly said. Su Yang then said, "Watch this." He closed his eyes and remained silent for the next few seconds. Meanwhile, inside their room in the Zai family's household, Wu Jingjing, Zhu Menji, and Lion Li could suddenly feel their family seals heating up, almost as though it was beckoning them. "This is Su Yang." They exchanged glances with each other before turning to look in the direction of the celestial pond. "I think Su Yang is calling us through the family seal," Wu Jingjing said. "I am also getting that feeling," Zhu Menji agreed. "Let's head to the celestial pond and see if that's the case," Lion Li said. A few moments later, they all flew towards the celestial pond. "Su Yang, what was that feeling coming from the family seal? Did you call for us?" Wu Jingjing asked him after they entered the portal to the celestial pond. "Yes, I summoned all of you here so we can cultivate together," Su Yang nodded his head with a smile. "To cultivate?" They turned to look at Zai Xingfeng, who was sitting in the celestial pond with an exhausted yet satisfied expression on her face. "You don't have to if you don't want to," Su Yang said to them. "Nonsense. I would never refuse to cultivate with you," Zhu Menji said, and then she continued, "However, who's going to take care of the babies while we cultivate?" Hearing her question, Su Yang snapped his fingers, instantly creating a large black square-shaped formation not far away from the celestial pond. "You can just leave them inside, they'll sleep through the whole thing," Su Yang said with a smile. Wu Jingjing and Zhu Menji walked into the formation a moment later that was as spacious as a small room, and it felt as though they'd suddenly entered the void, but they were surrounded by flickering stars, almost like they were really in the starry sky. "What is this place? I am getting sleepy just from standing in here," Wu Jingjing asked as she suddenly began yawning. "It's a formation that naturally puts people to sleep. The background is just there to make it look pretty. I use it to put the kids to sleep whenever I cultivate with their mother so that we won't be disturbed," Su Yang casually said. "As expected of you, Su Yang, to have something like this in his sleeves," Zhu Menji said with a dazed expression on her face. "We still need a bed for," before Wu Jingjing could even finish her sentence, Su Yang waved his sleeves, sending a mattress towards her way. Wu Jingjing was speechless. She didn't think he would be this prepared. A few moments after putting Wu Min and Zhu Jie on the soft mattress beside each other, their mothers watched as they fell asleep within a heartbeat. "Wow, what a wonderful technique this is. Maybe I should learn this for myself when I need some rest," Wu Jingjing said. "How long will they be asleep for?" Zhu Menji asked. "The formation doesn't forcefully put them asleep, so they'll wake up normally whenever it happens," Su Yang said. "Then we need to hurry up and cultivate before they wake up," Zhu Menji said as she quickly removed her clothes and entered the celestial pond. Wu Jingjing and Lion Li smiled and also joined them a moment later. Once the celestial pond was filled with 4 heavenly goddesses that could topple even an entire kingdom with their beauty alone, Su Yang began pleasing all of them at once. The water in the celestial pond splattered everywhere as they cultivated, and very quickly the ladies Yin Qi and Su Yang's Yang Qi would fuse with the golden water in the celestial pond, creating a unique liquid that would boost their cultivation base significantly. Su Yang continued to cultivate with the beauties without any breaks for nearly an entire day, until the babies woke up and began crying for their mothers. When that happened, the mothers left the celestial pond to tend their daughter, but Lion Li and Zai Xingfeng remained in the celestial pond and continued to cultivate with Su Yang. Although it was an awkward feeling at first for the 2 princesses that had never cultivated in a group before, after being around each other and listening to each other moaning for some time, they eventually got used to it. "Well, what do you think? Did you enjoy it? If not, that's fine too, as I'll make sure we will only do it privately in the future," Su Yang asked the 2 princesses as they sat beside him with his arms wrapped around their shoulders. "It was definitely a unique experience. I like it," Lion Li said as she rested her head on his shoulders. Zai Xingfeng spoke afterward. Although I don't dislike it and I don't mind doing it occasionally, I still prefer having you to myself. Su Yang nodded and said, I understand, I will keep that in mind. Anyway, because I forcefully restored the celestial pond, it won't last 7 days like previously, and we have at most a few more hours before it dries out again. Lion Li nodded and said, Then let's continue for a few more hours. I like that idea, Su Yang chuckled, and they returned to cultivating chapter 717, announcing their alliance once the celestial pond was close to drying up. Su Yang and the ladies stopped their cultivation and left the pond. Are we ready to leave this place? Wu Jingjing asked them after seeing them leave the celestial pond. Yes, just let me clean this place up a bit, Su Yang said as he waved his sleeves, collecting the dirty water into an empty storage ring. Afterward, they walked through the portal and left the celestial pond. Sometime later, they returned to the Zai family's household. Are you going to return to the Profound Blossom Sect now? Zai Wang asked him. That's right. Now that Zinger is healed, you no longer need me here. Su Yang nodded. Zai Wang then looked at Zai Xingfeng and asked her, What about you, Zinger? Now that you are following Su Yang, are you going to live in the Profound Blossom Sect with him? However, Zai Xingfeng shook her head and said, Since I am going to be following Su Yang in the future to somewhere far away, I'd like to spend the rest of my time in this world with you and Father. Do you mind, Su Yang? Why would I? If you ever feel lonely, just send me a message using a message talisman and I'll immediately come here to keep you company, he said with a smile on his face. Zai Wang looked at them with wide eyes. Did you too already? He asked him in a trembling voice, yet he somehow already knew the answer before they even answered. I am already pregnant, grandfather. Zai Xingfeng revealed this shocking revelation to him. Pregnant. Zai Wang fell onto his butt with a shocked expression on his face, looking as though he'd just seen the ghost of his ancestors. Wow, that was fast, Zhu Minji mumbled after hearing that. Looks like you'll have another sibling in the near future, Wu Min, Wu Jingjing chuckled. Actually, I am pregnant too, Lion Li suddenly revealed to them. Why, you too? Zhu Minji looked at her with wide eyes. When did it happen? Wu Jingjing asked her with a dazed face. On our way here from the holy central continent, Lion Li responded with a bashful smile. Wow, at this rate, who knows how many children will be in the family by the time we leave this world and head to the divine heavens, Zhu Minji said. The more the merrier, Wu Jingjing giggled. Sometime later, Zai Wang calmed down and stood back up again. Then he said with a serious expression on his face, Congratulations, Zinger, Su Yang. I cannot wait to see the child and become a great-grandfather. Thank you, grandfather. By the way, where's my father? Zai Xingfeng finally noticed his absence. Oh, he's dealing with a few things now. We plan on announcing the Zai family's alliance with the Profound Blossom Sect, not to mention the gathering that was requested by Su Yang, Zai Wang said. By the way, should we also announce that you and Su Yang are now together? This way, we would stop receiving marriage proposals from the other families. Zai Xingfeng turned to look at Su Yang and asked him, What do you think, Su Yang? I will let you decide, he said with a smile on his face. Zai Xingfeng pondered for a moment before nodding her head. I want it to be announced. However, I want to be the one to announce it. And then she continued, Su Yang, can you be there with me during the announcement? Of course. When do you want to make the announcement? Su Yang asked. I will do it during your gathering if you don't mind, as everyone is already gathered there. Sounds good, Su Yang nodded. By the way, Zinger, let's keep the thing about your pregnancy a secret from my son for now, Zai Wang suddenly said. Why? Zai Xingfeng tilted her head. Well, he already has enough going on in his mind right now. I don't want to burden him even more with such news for now, Zai Wang said. Then when should we let him know? Zai Xingfeng tilted her head. We don't. He'll eventually know once he starts your belly blowing up, ha ha ha. Zai Wang laughed out loud. Su Yang merely shook his head with a smile as this wasn't any of his business. Anyway, I will return to the Profound Blossom Sect now, Su Yang said. Okay, I will see you soon, Su Yang. Zai Xingfeng gave him a passionate hug and kiss before letting him go. Sometime later, Su Yang gathered everyone from the Profound Blossom Sect and the Holy Central Continent before boarding the large flying ship and flying back to the Profound Blossom Sect. Meanwhile, news of the Zai family and the Profound Blossom Sect forming an alliance began spreading throughout the entire continent like wildfire, shocking everybody that heard this unprecedented news. What? The Zai family formed an alliance with the Profound Blossom Sect. What does this mean? Where does the Profound Blossom Sect stand in terms of their status within the power balance? What will happen to the elite sects from now on? How much power does the Profound Blossom Sect hold now compared to the other sects and families? Nearly everybody questioned the situation, as they have never experienced something like this before. However, not only did the Zai family announce their alliance with the Profound Blossom Sect, but they have also announced a gathering for pretty much every sect and family in the Eastern continent. It was a massive gathering that only happens once every century. As for the purpose of this gathering, the Zai family did not say, and only mentioned that it was very important. And while it was not mandatory to attend, nobody would dare to miss a summoning by the Zai family regardless of its importance. After returning to the Profound Blossom Sect, Su Yang said to Liu Lanjai and the other disciples that participated in the Celestial Pond, I know what happened at the Celestial Pond was discouraging, but I have something that should make up for it. Chapter 718, introducing the family. Liu Lanjai and the other two disciples looked at Su Yang with anticipation. What could possibly be better than the Celestial Pond that boosts their cultivation base significantly? Su Yang then retrieved 2 cultivation techniques and handed them to the 2 disciples, Disciple Jai and Disciple Chen. This is an immortal-grade cultivation technique. Although the Celestial Pond may affect your cultivation speed, it is only temporary. However, with this cultivation technique, it will be a permanent effect. Disciple Jai and Disciple Chen accepted their cultivation technique with trembling hands, their expressions blank and seemingly in a daze. Thank you, Sect Master. They bowed to him deeply. Once the disciples left, Su Yang turned to look at Liu Lanjai and asked her, What do you want? You don't have anything prepared for me. Liu Lanjai raised her eyebrows. Ha ha ha, who knows? A mysterious smile appeared on Su Yang's face. He then reached into his robes and retrieved a scroll. Here, Su Yang extended his arms and offered it to her. What's this? Liu Lanjai accepted the scroll before opening it to read it. As Liu Lanjai read the first sentence, Su Yang spoke. That's a divine-grade cultivation technique. It's above the immortal-grade technique. Liu Lanjai immediately stopped reading the scroll and lifted her head to look at him with a surprised face, her eyes blinking in a dazed manner. Even the other ladies, their turn to look at him with wide eyes. Divine-grade cultivation technique. Such a powerful cultivation technique does not yet exist in this world, not even the Holy Central Continent has one. Divine-grade cultivation technique, you say, and you're giving this to me? Liu Lanjai asked him in a dazed voice. That's right. You are the sect master of the Profound Blossom Sect that is going to be the #1 sect in this world in the near future. It's only natural for someone of your stature to have something special like a divine-grade cultivation technique. Su Yang said to her with a smile on his face. Liu Lanjai was speechless. And after a long moment of silence, tears began flowing from her eyes, tears of happiness. Hey, I didn't give you the divine-grade technique so that I can watch you cry, Su Yang said to her with a smile on his face. I'm sorry, I just don't know how else to express my feelings, Liu Lanjai said in a trembling voice. Just smile and say thank you, that's all you need to do. Liu Lanjai nodded before wiping her tears and speaking with a beautiful smile on her face. Thank you, Su Yang. Once Liu Lanjai returned to the yin-yang pavilion and back to her own room, Su Yang turned to look at the three beauties standing behind him with envious gazes. Su Yang chuckled when he saw this, and he said to them, "There's no need to be envious. Once we return to the divine heavens, I will give you all cultivation techniques and martial techniques that far exceed your current understanding." Really? Zhu Menji's eyes flashed with excitement. Yes. I would give the cultivation techniques to you right now, but it wouldn't do you any good with the low-quality profound qi in this world. Anyway, I am now going to give you a quick tour around this place before introducing you to the others in the family that is currently in this place, Su Yang said. The three ladies nodded, and they proceeded to follow Su Yang around the sect. Of course, the disciples in the sect were greatly dumbfounded when they saw the three peerless beauties following Su Yang, as they have never seen someone so beautiful before, much less three at once in the same place. However, since two of these beauties were carrying a baby in their arms, the disciples were also greatly confused as to who they were, since they didn't think someone like Su Yang would be willing to have children. Who are those beauties following the sect master? I have never seen them before. I don't know, but they are incredibly beautiful. There's no way someone like that would be a nobody. You can tell at glance just by the profound aura they're emitting that they're all-powerful cultivators. Heavens, I wonder where the sect master found them and what are they doing here at the Profound Blossom Sect. Well, knowing the sect master, they're probably here to cultivate. One of the disciples said, "Cultivate, even though they brought their babies along. I highly doubt it." Don't underestimate the sect master. I'm willing to bet that he can seduce even a woman who's currently in the middle of pregnancy with another man. As every disciple they passed chatted with each other, Su Yang and the three beauties eventually stopped in front of a medium-sized building. "What building is this?" Wu Jingjing asked. "Why don't you take a guess?" Su Yang said with a mysterious smile on his face. "Oh." Wu Jingjing narrowed her eyes at the building, but she was unable to find anything special about it. However, a moment later, she could feel the family seal on her body reacting to this place. And just as the family seal began heating up, the entrance to the building suddenly opened, and a very pretty young lady stepped out of the building. Su Yang. Sun Jingjing raised her eyebrows when she saw him with three beautiful but unfamiliar faces standing outside her house. Because her family seal started warming up, she decided to come outside, expecting to see either Su Yang or Su Liking, as that is the only time her family seal would react. And to her surprise, there were three extremely beautiful fairies that she did not recognize with Su Yang, and she felt a connection with all three of them, indicating that they also had a family seal somewhere on their body. However, two of these three women were carrying a child in their arms, which baffled Sun Jingjing almost instantly, and questions immediately appeared in her head. Chapter 719, introducing the family. 2. Su Yang. W. Who are they? And why do I? Sun Jingjing asked him in a dumbfounded voice as she approached them. Su Yang smiled and said, "Whatever you're thinking, it's probably right. Go ahead, introduce yourselves," Su Yang then said to the three goddesses. Wu Jingjing was the first to react. She stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Hello, my name is Wu Jingjing, and I am from the Holy Central Continent. This baby in my arms is Wu Min, and she's my daughter with Su Yang. DD daughter with Su Yang." Sun Jingjing accidentally tripped on herself after hearing such shocking words from Wu Jingjing. After she recovered from the stumble, Sun Jingjing looked at Zhu Menji and spoke in a trembling voice. "Don't tell me she's also." "Yes, she's Yu Jai Su Yang and my daughter. I am called Zhu Menji, and I am also from the Holy Central Continent." Zhu Menji introduced herself next. "My name is Lion Li, and I am also from the Holy Central Continent." Lion Li quickly introduced herself. "Heavens, Su Yang. You disappeared for a month only to return with three beautiful women and two children. You are always full of surprises. Sun Jingjing said as she approached Wu Jingjing and Zhu Menji to take a closer look at the babies. Are they really your children, Su Yang? If you tell me this is a prank right now, I promise I won't get angry. Sun Jingjing looked at him, clearly doubtful whether these two cute babies were really his children. After all, children require time to make something he cannot have achieved after leaving for a month. Unless he impregnatd these women over a year ago, it was simply impossible for him to be the father for these two children. Furthermore, he was only between the profound spirit realm and the true spirit realm a year ago. How did he manage to seduce these powerful-looking cultivators with such an insignificant cultivation base? It would be a miracle if they even paid attention to him, much less cultivate with him. Su Yang smiled and said, "Let's talk inside. I'll tell you everything that happened, but it's going to be a long story." "Okay," Sun Jingjing nodded. Once they went inside her home and sat down, Su Yang began recalling how he met these ladies from the holy central continent, and when he impregnatd them to Sun Jingjing. A few hours later, once Sun Jingjing had heard their story and their individual background, she sighed out loud, "A child with you, huh? I'm afraid that I'm still too young to have a child mentally and physically." Then she looked at Wu Jingjing and said, "Though, to think we have the same given name, what a coincidence, huh? Yes, I am still surprised that you are also a Jingjing." Wu Jingjing chuckled. "Anyway, I am." Sun Jingjing proceeded to introduce herself and her own background. After the three girls chatted with Sun Jingjing for another hour and familiarized themselves with each other, they left her house and followed Su Yang to another place, the medicine hall. "What an energetic young lady that was. I can tell why you choose someone like her to be in the family," Zhu Menji said after they left, as she found some similarities between Sun Jingjing and herself during their conversation. Sometime later, they arrived at the medicine hall. "What do we have here? A medicine store." Zhu Menji immediately picked up the scent of the medicine and herbs inside. "This is the medicine hall. Disciples come here to get treated when they're injured or whatever." Su Yang gave them a brief explanation before walking into the building. Su Yang, the disciples inside immediately noticed his presence, but their attention was quickly snatched by the three peerless beauties following behind him, as their presence was simply too overwhelming for these young disciples who were not even at the earth spirit realm. "I'm here to see Liking today," Su Yang said to them before he approached the stairs and walked to the second floor. "Liking, it's Su Yang." He knocked on the door and called for her. A few seconds later, Su Liking opened the door to let them inside. This is..." Su Liking was immediately baffled by her family seal's reaction to the three women who came with Su Yang, especially the two women who held a baby in their arms. However, Su Yang didn't delay the reveal this time and introduced the new girls personally. "Everybody, this is Su Liking, who used to be named Lan Liking, and is actually my first cultivation partner in this life. And Liking, these ladies are from the holy central continent, and as you can tell, they have also accepted my family seal. Starting from the right we have Lion Li, Zhu Menji, and finally, Wu Jingjing." He then pointed at the two cute creatures and said with a smile on his face, "These two are my daughter, Wu Min and Zhu Jie. Your children." Su Liking stood there with a blank expression on her face after hearing his words, feeling an indescribable feeling in her heart. A moment of silence later, to everybody's surprise, tears suddenly began flowing down Su Liking's face. What's this? Why am I crying?" Even Su Liking was surprised by herself when the tears began falling, and whenever she wiped her tears, even more tears would come out. I'm sorry, Su Yang, but I don't know why I am," Su Liking said to him as she continued to wipe her eyes with her soft sleeves. Su Yang was completely speechless for once, as he also didn't know why Su Liking would suddenly start crying. The atmosphere became awkward incredibly quickly, and the ladies exchanged glances with each other. "You can introduce us later, Su Yang. We'll wait outside for now, Wu Jingjing suddenly whispered in his ears. Okay, Su Yang nodded. Wu Jingjing and the others then left the room before closing the door, leaving Su Yang and Su Liking alone. Chapter 720. I will imprgnate you as many times as you want. Once Wu Jingjing and the other ladies left the room, Su Yang approached the crying Su Liking and gently placed his arms around her waist, almost as though he was afraid of hurting her. He then slowly pulled her towards the bed before sitting down and placing Su Liking to sit on his lap. What's the matter, Liking? If there's anything that's bothering you, anything at all, just let me know and I will immediately deal with it. Su Yang spoke to her in a soft voice, sounding as though he was trying to calm down a crying child. And if I did something wrong, you can also tell me and I will. Hearing his words, Su Liking immediately shook her head and then she said, There's nothing wrong with you, Su Yang. Nothing at all. However, I really don't know why I am crying. It began flowing unconsciously when I saw the children, your daughters, and I don't know why. Please believe me, Su Yang. The children, of course I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? Su Yang said as he gently caressed her hands. I'm sorry for making you worried, Su Yang, Su Liking sighed a moment later. This has never happened before. It's okay. I'm just relieved that it's nothing serious, Su Yang said. Su Liking lifted her head and stared at Su Yang in the eyes with a passionate gaze. Su Yang obviously stared back at her. A moment later, their faces approached each other and they began kissing intimately. After many minutes of kissing, Su Yang suddenly said to her, Liking, if you ever want children, do not hesitate to ask. Although I used to refuse to have children no matter what, things have changed. Me, children, Su Liking looked at him with a dazed face. You already have 2 daughters and you still want more, Su Liking laughed softly. Actually, there's more than 2. Although it didn't seem like it, Lion Li and Zai Xingfeng are also pregnant with my child right now, Su Yang said. Wait a second, Zai Xingfeng, Her Highness. When did you 2? Su Liking looked at him with a shocked expression on her face. Haha, it's a long story, so I'll tell you another time. So you already have 2 daughters right now with at least 2 more coming in the future, huh? Congratulations, Su Yang. I cannot believe you were just an outer court disciple not long ago. Su Liking said to him with a beautiful smile. And then she continued, Though, if you don't mind me asking, why do you want so many children? According to my knowledge, most dual cultivators choose to not have any children with their partners, at least not until very late down the line. I know that you used to be an immortal in your previous life, but you are barely 18 years old right now. Su Yang showed a bittersweet smile and said, My desire for children is probably due to something that happened in the past with my first wife. Your first wife? Su Liking raised her eyebrows. Yes, this is way before I was a dual cultivator and way before I even had any reputation for myself. I was just like any ordinary young man who yearned for a partner back then, and when I found my first wife, I dedicated everything to her. Su Yang closed his eyes to recall his memories, the beautiful face of his first wife. My first wife, her name was Meiki Su Meiki after she took my surname, and she has wanted a child with me ever since our first night together. However, no matter how many times we tried, she could not conceive. Because she used to be a powerful general who fought multiple wars, perhaps her inability to conceive was due to an injury she received during a battle, or maybe it's simply because she was born like that, we don't know. Anyway, even though it mattered a lot to Su Meiki that we have a child, it really didn't matter to me, as my only purpose at the time was to make her happy by fulfilling her every desire. But alas, no matter what we tried, she was still unable to conceive even until the day she died of old age. Su Liking was speechless, as she didn't think he would have such a tragic backstory with his first wife. Su Yang continued sometime later. When I became a dual cultivator, The first thing I did was practice this cultivation technique that allowed me to have perfect control of my yang qi, which would allow me to impregnate a woman whenever I desired with 100% efficiency. Of course, that doesn't help those who do not have the ability to conceive like my first wife, so I started practicing medicine, which allowed me to fix that problem. However, despite spending many years perfecting both techniques, I never really got the chance to use those skills, as I never had any intentions to impregnate my partners. Of course, there had been countless women who wanted to bear my child, but I would always refuse as I was never interested in that matter, not to mention that I have many enemies throughout the world, and having children would only give them more power over me. However, I have changed. This world, you girls have changed my mind. I want to start a family no matter what. After all, I cannot call myself a real man if I cannot fulfill my partner's desire because I am afraid of my enemies. Su Yang then looked at Su Liking in the eyes and said, "Therefore, if you also want a child with me, I will impregnate you as many times as you want." After staring at Su Yang with a dazed expression for a long minute, Su Liking suddenly spoke with a blushing face. "Su Yang, I want your child." Su Yang then smiled and said, "Although I would begin now, we cannot make the others wait outside too long. Let's do this another time tomorrow." "Okay." Su Liking nodded. Chapter 721 Compatibility. After Su Yang's conversation with Su Liking ended, the ladies waiting outside were finally told to come back inside. "I am really sorry about what had just happened." Su Liking bowed to them afterward and she said, "I hope it didn't cause any misunderstandings. If it did, let's try to clear it up now. As long as you're okay and we weren't the cause, it's fine," Wu Jingjing said to her with a smile. "Anyways, now that everything's back to normal, let's introduce ourselves again," Zhu Menji said. And she continued, "I'm Zhu Menji and this is Zhu Jiayi. I am also an alchemist, so I know a thing or two about medicine. If you need any help, you can come to me. Of course, I am nothing compared to Su Yang. I am Wu Jingjing, and this is Wu Min. I belong to a sword sect in the holy central continent. Although I don't know anything about medicine, if you need someone to talk to, I am always here. My name is Lion Li, and I used to belong to the Lion family in the holy central continent. If you know the Zai family of the eastern continent, my Lion family is basically the Zai family of the holy central continent. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. My name used to be Lan Liking, but after accepting Su Yang's family seal, I have decided to take his surname as my own, so I am currently Su Liking. Can we call you Sister Liking? You can also address us as such," Zhu Menji said to her. "Yes," Su Liking nodded. "Great. Then let's talk about your first time with Su Yang. You were his first partner after his reincarnation, right?" Zhu Menji then asked her. Hearing her question, Su Liking smiled and said, "Okay, but this might take a while, so take a seat on the bed." Once they were all seated on the bed, Su Liking began recalling her background and how she met Su Yang from behind her own desk. After Su Liking finished her story, the three ladies began telling her their own story. 3 hours later, Su Yang and the three ladies left the medicine hall. However, Su Yang said to Su Liking before leaving, "Prepare yourself because I am going to knock you up the next time we see each other." Su Liking nodded with a rosy face. After leaving the medicine hall, Su Yang brought the three ladies to the final family member in the Profound Blossom Sect to Zhang Ziu Ying's living quarters. "So this young girl is the last family member here, huh? She's much younger than the last two." Wu Jingjing looked at Zhang Ziu Ying with interest, as Zhang Ziu Ying appeared to be the most ordinary girl they've met. Of course, Zhang Ziu Ying was incredibly pretty, but other than her pretty face, they were unable to sense anything unique about her. In fact, she was so ordinary compared to the others that it became her uniqueness. Hello, seniors. I am Xianxia, and I used to be an ordinary disciple from the Burning Lotus sect before I found Su Yang. Xianxia politely introduced herself. A few minutes later, once the three ladies introduced themselves, Xianxia covered her mouth in surprise and said, "Wow, I really feel out of place now." "Don't say that. You're unique in your own way, and since we all have Su Yang's family seal, we're all equal no matter what background we came from, isn't that right, Su Yang?" Wu Jingjing asked him. "That's right. No matter where you came from or what status you held before, as long as you are in the family, I will treat you all equally," Su Yang confirmed. After spending some time speaking with each other, Su Yang and the others left Zhang Ziu Ying's living quarters. "You really surprised me just now, Su Yang," Lion Li suddenly said to him afterward. "I didn't think you'd accept someone so ordinary into your family. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying that's a bad thing. I am simply used to seeing you surrounded by impressive women." Su Yang merely smiled and said, "It may be true that Zhang Ziu Ying is only an ordinary girl compared to you princesses, but it doesn't mean that she isn't pleasant to be around. What I consider the most important when considering who to accept into the family is our compatibility. No matter how beautiful one may be, if we are not compatible with each other, there's simply no way that I would accept them into my family and pretend I like her. That's simply impossible for me. Zhang Ziu Ying may be an ordinary girl, but I enjoy her company as much as I do with everyone else in the family, and that is the only thing that matters to me." The ladies were speechless after hearing Su Yang's words, but they understood and agreed with everything he'd said. "Anyway, I have a few more people that require introductions," Su Yang then said to them. "Huh, I thought Zhang Ziu Ying was the last family member in this place." Wu Jingjing raised her eyebrows. "Yes, that's true, but these people are very special. Although they may not be in the family right now, I already consider them as family." And he continued, "You'll understand it when you meet them. In fact, one of them is actually a family member from the divine heavens." The ladies looked at him with wide eyes, yet they were unable to comprehend the full meaning behind his words. Sometime later, they arrived at the Yin-Yang Pavilion. However, before they could even enter the building, a peerless woman resembling a real goddess appeared before them with a perplexed expression on her face. When the three ladies from the holy central continent saw this goddess's unique features, mainly her silver hair and eyes that resembled the moon at night, their eyes widened with shock. "You are immortal fairy Su Yue," Lion Li exclaimed. Chapter 722 Real Daughters. "I immortal fairy Su Yue." Wu Jingjing and the other ladies unconsciously took a step back after seeing the frown on Keyu's face, as they recall how ruthless she could be whenever she's annoyed, and she looked incredibly annoyed right now. "What is the meaning of this? Why are the three of you here?" Keiyu asked them after a moment of silence. "Well, immortal fairy Su Yue, don't call me that," Keiyu quickly interrupted. The three ladies exchanged glances with each other, clearly in a bind. "Why are you making things difficult for them, Keiyu? You should already know why they're here," Su Yang approached her and said. Keiyu looked at him for a second before turning to look at Wu Min and Zhu Jiayi. "Don't tell me." She looked at Su Yang again, her gaze filled with shock. "That's right. They're my daughters. I impregnated them during our previous visit to the holy central continent," Su Yang said to her. Keiyu immediately became speechless with a perplexed expression on her face. Seeing this, Su Yang took this moment to introduce her to the other three goddesses. "Although you may already know her as immortal fairy Su Yue, her real name is Keiyu, and she's originally from the divine heavens like me," Su Yang said to them, and he continued. "However, due to some events in the divine heavens, she somehow managed to arrive in this place and has been here ever since." Immortal Senior Keiyu, it's a pleasure to finally see you," Lion Li bowed to her. "Although you may not recognize me, I am your Emperor Lion's daughter, right? I remember you," Keiyu quickly said to her. There's no need for any introduction. I know every single one of you Lion Li, Zhu Menji, and Wu Jingjing. Kid Yu then turned to look at Su Yang and asked him, since they are here, it means they are going to follow us back to the divine heavens, right? Su Yang nodded. Kid Yu turned to look at Su Yang's two daughters again before sighing inwardly, father's real daughters, huh? If only I was also. Do whatever you want, Kid Yu said a moment later before turning around and returning to the yin-yang pavilion in her room. That was surprising. I didn't expect immortal fairy senior Kid Yu to appear in front of us so suddenly. Zhu Menji sighed in relief afterward. Yes, and it felt like she'd gotten more grumpy than before, Wu Jingjing said with a smile on her face. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about her cold attitude, she does that when she's not able to express her emotions properly. You'll get used to her sooner or later, Su Yang laughed out loud. I can hear you, Su Yang. Kid Yu's voice resounded from inside the building a second later. Hearing her voice, Su Yang only laughed even louder. What's so funny, darling? A calm voice suddenly resounded, and another figure appeared before them. The three ladies turned to look at this young lady who appeared to be around the same age as Su Yang, yet there was this otherworldly aura surrounding her that made her seem much more mature and mysterious, and it felt rather similar to Su Yang's aura. Lingxi. Su Yang looked at her. Hm. However, right as she was prepared to speak, Tang Lingxi suddenly noticed the unique aura emitting from the three ladies, and then she saw the two cute babies in their arms. Tang Lingxi immediately stopped her movements to stare at them with a gawking expression on her face, or more precisely, she was staring at the babies. After a long moment of silence, she turned to look at Su Yang in a stiff movement. I don't want to believe this, but are those two little creatures, do they by any chance belong to you? She asked him in a dumbfounded voice while pointing at them with trembling fingers. That's right. Do you like them, these little creatures? He responded with a smile on his face. However, Tang Lingxi did not immediately respond to him and instead turned to look at the babies again. She then approached Zhu Menji and Wu Jingjing, who quickly became nervous due to the profound aura surrounding Tang Lingxi. Tang Lingxi stopped a moment later in front of Wu Jingjing and she spoke. Do you think I can hold on to her for a second? Ooh. Wu Jingjing's eyes immediately shifted to Su Yang, who nodded his head with a smile on his face. Seeing this, all of the doubt in her heart disappeared, and Wu Jingjing handed Wu Min to Tang Lingxi. And to her surprise, Wu Min didn't cry despite being held by a stranger, as this was a first besides Su Yang. Haha, look at this, darling. I am actually carrying your child. I didn't think this would happen even in 10,000 years. Tang Lingxi laughed with a beautiful smile on her face while making an expression that even Su Yang hasn't seen before. I didn't know you liked children that much. In fact, I thought you hated them, Su Yang said to her a moment later. You are right, I despise children. However, since they are your children, this is an entirely different story, Tang Lingxi chuckled. Actually, I can say the same to you, darling. I didn't know you wanted children. I'm pretty sure I have heard you say something like, I will never have children before, Tang Lingxi said. Su Yang chuckled at her words for a moment before speaking. Yes, I did say something like that in the past, but you seem to have recalled only half of that sentence, and I actually said, I will never have children in this life. Sometime later, Tang Lingxi handed Wu Min back to her mother Wu Jingjing, and then she said, I know this is a little bit late, but my name is Tang Lingxi. However, the me you are seeing now is not the real me, as I am only borrowing this young lady's body using a forbidden pill. Huh. The three ladies looked at Tang Lingxi with wide eyes, clearly shocked and speechless about her sudden revelation. Chapter 723 Blossom Spring. Seeing their bewildered expressions, Tang Lingxi smiled and said, I don't know whether Su Yang already told you or not, but I am someone from the divine heavens, and I also belong to the Su family. And in order to reunite with Su Yang, I have consumed a forbidden pill called soul-invading pill, which allowed me to transmigrate my soul into another body and take control of their body temporarily. I know that sounds wrong, but you don't have to worry, as this body whose original owner is named Hong Yuer has given me permission to use her body, and in return for borrowing her body, I am helping her cultivate. After a moment of silence, Zhu Minji spoke. Heavens! This soul-invading pill, what a terrifyingly powerful pill. I cannot even begin to imagine the terror it would cause if such a pill landed in the wrong hands. It is indeed quite a scary pill, but that's why it's a forbidden pill, and it's not something anyone can just obtain, as it's heavily regulated and protected by the alchemy god, who is also the only person in the world that can concoct such a pill, so you don't have to worry about it getting into the wrong hands. The alchemy god. Zhu Minji wondered what kind of person this alchemy god is. Anyway, enough about me. Tell me about yourselves junior sisters who have accepted Su Yang's family seal. The three ladies then proceeded to introduce themselves. However, right as they were going to mention their backgrounds, Tang Lingxi said to them, "You don't have to tell me your backgrounds, I don't really care about it." After all, as the princess of the Usra god clan, no matter how impressive their backgrounds may be in this world, it wouldn't even qualify to be compared to the Usra god clan. Furthermore, one's background did not matter in the Su family, so it wouldn't have mattered regardless. Instead of your background, I want to hear about your experiences with Su Yang, but we should go somewhere more comfortable. Follow me to my room, Tang Lingxi said to them as she entered the Yin-Yang pavilion. I guess it's your room now, Su Yang shook his head with a smile on his face. Anyway, you girls can go ahead without me. I have something else to do right now. Okay, they nodded before leaving him alone. Once the ladies went inside the Yin-Yang pavilion, Su Yang turned around and began making his way back to the medicine hall. Su Yang, did you forget something? The disciples inside the medicine hall were puzzled to see him return so quickly. Something like that, he nodded. If you're here for Master, she just left the building not long ago, one of the disciples said to him. Him, where did she go? Su Yang raised his eyebrows as Su Liking rarely leaves the medicine hall. Master went to the Blossom Spring to clean herself. She should be back in an hour, said the disciples. Blossom Spring, this is my first time hearing of this place. Su Yang said with a slightly surprised expression. How come he's never heard of this place before? Ah, that's probably because only female sect elders are allowed to go there, and it's located in a secure area somewhere on the Blossom Mountain a few miles outside our sect, so not many people know about it. We only know about it because our master goes there once a month to bathe in the spring that is also said to cleanse impurities within one's body. Cleanse one's impurities? Su Yang asked the disciples a moment later. Where can I find this Blossom Mountain? I'm not exactly sure about its exact location, but it should be towards the south. Thank you, Su Yang said to them before leaving the medicine hall. Once Su Yang left, the disciples sighed. Hey, it must be nice to have so much of Su Yang's attention. If only I was in the master's shoes. Keep dreaming, junior sister. Su Yang is too much for us. We're already immensely lucky to get to cultivate with him. Don't push your luck too much. What's wrong with dreaming? It's called dreaming for a reason. While the disciples chatted with each other, Su Yang flew towards the south even after he left the sect. A few miles later, Su Yang could see a small but beautiful mountain that was filled with blossom trees, and at the end of the mountain, there was a small spring that was also covered in blossom petals that had fallen from the large blossom tree that was located right next to the spring, resembling the celestial pond. Once Su Yang got closer to the spring, he was able to see Su Liking's beautiful figure bathing in the blossom spring with her eyes closed, and he decided to approach her. Meanwhile, Su Liking was completely relaxed and unaware of Su Yang's presence. I never knew such a beautiful place existed until today, Su Yang's voice suddenly resounded, startling Su Liking. Su Yang, what are you doing here? You nearly gave me a heart attack." Su Liking sighed in relief after realizing that it was him. "I'm sorry if I scared you just now. As for what I am doing here, have you already forgotten what I said to you not long ago?" Su Yang said to her with a smile on his face as he descended onto the ground beside the spring. But you said tomorrow. That's why I am preparing myself right now," Su Liking said with a dazed expression on her face. "I know, but I cannot wait, so here I am," he said, still with a smile on his face. "Or are you going to keep me waiting until tomorrow?" Su Liking chuckled in a defeated voice before nodding her head. "Can you at least wait until I clean my body? Of course, you can join me if you want. I wouldn't refuse such an offer even if it's the last thing I do," Su Yang said, and he removed his clothes before entering the Blossom Spring with Su Liking. Chapter 724, Impregnating Su Liking after entering the spring. Su Yang sat beside Su Liking and placed his arm around her shoulders before pulling her towards his body. "Su Yang, I never thought I would be having a child with you so soon," Su Liking suddenly said. "I knew it was going to happen one day, but I never really thought about it until I saw your daughter with Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji. It was as though something within me had awakened. Trust me, I know that feeling very well. If you went to the past and told me that I would be willingly impregnating my partners, I would simply laugh at you," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. "Once we return to the divine heavens, I can already imagine what might happen once the others see our child. The more the merrier, right?" Su Liking laughed gracefully. After a moment of silence, Su Liking spoke again. "Su Yang, what are you going to do once we go to the divine heavens?" Su Yang closed his eyes for a moment before speaking. "I am going to take care of a few businesses and fulfill a few promises that had been delayed for 2,000 years due to my reincarnation. And once everything is taken care of, I am going to settle down somewhere with all of you and live the rest of our life in peace. I am going to create a utopia, a paradise for all of us and our children." "A paradise, huh? I am looking forward to it," Su Liking said with a gentle smile on her face, as she imagined such a lifestyle with Su Yang and their child. After spending many minutes submerged in the refreshing water, Su Liking turned to look at Su Yang and spoke with a longing gaze. "Su Yang, I am ready, can you knock me up?" Su Yang smiled at her words and nodded. "As you wish." Su Liking then closed her eyes and lifted her head slightly, gesturing her desires. Seeing this, Su Yang kissed her on the lips and their lips remained on each other for many minutes. Ha. Su Liking was already breathing heavily before they even began the real thing. A few moments later she stood up, turned around and bent forward towards the edge of the spring, shoving her flawless buttocks in the air and towards Su Yang. "Go ahead, Su Yang," she said to him with a red face. Su Yang nodded, and he approached her with his little brother already filled with energy and rock hard. The next moment, Su Yang inserted his dragon into Su Liking's already slippery cave, entering her body with ease. Su Liking moaned softly as her hole stretched into a wide circle. Once the entire rod was inside Su Liking's body, Su Yang began moving his hips, pounding her tight cave with his stiff rod and her buttocks at the same time with his body. The water in the spring splashed loudly, but they were easily masked by the sound of Su Liking's intense moaning. After pounding Su Liking for a few minutes, Su Yang suddenly bent his body over Su Liking's back and grabbed her breasts from behind. Su Liking's moaning increased as Su Yang massaged her breasts and nipples while pounding her hole simultaneously. Many minutes later, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into her hole, filling every nook and cranny inside. "Yes, impregnate me, Su Yang," Su Liking moaned with passion, feeling incredibly full from the ejaculation. However, Su Yang didn't stop there and refused to remove his meatstick from her cave afterward. A few moments later, he began moving his hips again, pounding Su Liking's body again. The two of them continued to cultivate for many hours in different positions, with Su Yang releasing his yang qi into Su Liking's body multiple times throughout their time together, overfilling her hole every time. By the time they finished cultivating, it was already dark outside with the starry night looming over the world. After being filled by your yang qi so many times, I will definitely get pregnant, right? Su Liking asked him as they gazed at the stars together from the spring. Su Yang nodded and said, "That's right. Unless you are naturally incapable of conceiving like my first wife, then you'll definitely become a mother. However, even if you are incapable of conceiving, unlike previously, we are not hopeless, as I have multiple ways of fixing such problems." After resting in the Blossom Spring for an hour, Su Yang carried Su Liking back to the Profound Blossom Sect as though she was a princess. Once they returned to the medicine hall, Su Liking asked him, "Su Yang, do you think you can stay here tonight?" "Of course," Su Yang nodded. And thus, Su Yang spent the rest of the night with Su Liking in her room, even cultivating with her a few more times after Su Liking was unable to sleep due to the excitement of becoming a mother. The following day, Su Yang left the medicine hall while Su Liking slept from exhaustion after cultivating for the entire night without much rest. You stayed here the entire night." The disciples in the medicine hall were dumbfounded to see Su Yang leaving their master's room so early in the morning, as none of them witnessed Su Yang and Su Liking returning yesterday. "Yes, and your master might need to rest for today, so don't bother her unless necessary," Su Yang said to them. "We understand, Su Yang," the disciples nodded. After leaving the medicine hall, Su Yang returned to the yin-yang pavilion. As he approached the building, he noticed a beautiful figure sitting at the entrance with a seemingly exhausted expression on her face. "Lying you, are you okay? What are you doing sitting there alone and looking all tired?" Su Yang approached her with a smile on his face. "Su Yang." Qin Lying Yu looked at Su Yang with a bittersweet smile on her face. "I am okay. I am just a little tired as Xiao Rong's advisor." Chapter 725 let her watch Xiao Rong. "Did something happen to her?" Su Yang asked with raised eyebrows. "No, there's nothing wrong. I just didn't think it would take this long to teach her about being mature," Qin Lying Yu said. Su Yang laughed out loud after hearing her words, and he said, "Well, she's a magical beast that never had a proper interaction with humans until we met. Furthermore, ghost cats in general are slow learners when it comes to emotions and whatnot, not to mention their ancestors, phantom cats. While she may be incredibly powerful when it comes to spiritual techniques and a fast learner for other things, Xiao Rong is not very good with emotions, kind of like Keiyu. If you can't take it anymore, you can simply just quit." Although it's okay to be taught by others about maturity, Xiao Rong won't understand the essence and true meaning behind maturity, so even if she acts mature on the outside, she's still a mere child in her heart, and that's not something that can really be taught by others. Qin Lying Yu nodded and said, "I know, but I cannot give up on her now, not after putting so much effort into it. I am going to make sure Xiao Rong becomes a proper young lady." Seeing Qin Lying Yu's resolution that resembled a mother wanting her child to grow up properly, Su Yang said with a smile, "Since you are working so hard, do you want me to help you relax a bit? It's been a while since we last cultivated after all." Qin Lying Yu's eyes flashed with excitement after hearing his words, and she quickly nodded, "Okay." Sometime later, Qin Lying Yu followed Su Yang into the yin-yang pavilion. "Xiao Rong should still be in my room right now," Qin Lying Yu suddenly said to him. "That's fine. There are plenty of empty rooms in this building," Su Yang responded. A few minutes later, they entered one of the unoccupied rooms and locked the doors. Su Yang then pulled Qin Lying Yu to the bed and began kissing her. Su Yang's hands roamed under Qin Lying Yu's clothes as they kissed. Sometime later, Qin Liangyu removed her clothes and tossed them to the side of the bed before spreading her legs so Su Yang could have full access. With Qin Liangyu's closed slit in his view, Su Yang quickly kneeled beside the bed and began eating her pink meat. Tilde, tilde, tilde. Qin Liangyu moaned softly as Su Yang feasted on her body. Once Qin Liangyu's lower lips were fully soaking wet, Su Yang removed his clothes and prepared to insert his meat stick into her body. After rubbing his stiff rod between her slit for a few moments, Su Yang penetrated her small hole. Ah! Qin Liangyu clutched the bedsheets as Su Yang's large rod stretched the deepest parts of her cave. "Are you ready?" Su Yang asked her a moment later. Qin Liangyu nodded her head with a passionate gaze. Then however, right as Su Yang moved his hips, his movements immediately stopped. "What's the matter, Su Yang?" Qin Liangyu asked him after seeing this. "Well," Su Yang turned his head around, and to his surprise, a little girl with peerless facial features was standing by the window. Xiao Rong. Qin Liangyu's eyes widened with surprise when she noticed Xiao Rong's presence, and she immediately grabbed a blanket to cover herself, acting almost like a wife getting caught in the act by someone she didn't want to find out. "How long have you been there, Xiao Rong?" Su Yang asked her with a bittersweet smile on his face. "Since Master began licking Sister Liangyu's body," Xiao Rong responded with a calm expression on her face. "That long." Phantom cats are really scary with their ability to hide their presence flawlessly. Su Yang shook his head inwardly. "Well, what do you want?" Su Yang then asked her. Xiao Rong then shook her head in response, and then she said, "Nothing." Su Yang nearly facepalmed at her response, and he said, "Then why are you here? You know you shouldn't intrude on others when they are clearly not trying to be disturbed." However, Xiao Rong merely tilted her head while looking puzzled at his words. "Ah, I forgot. Ghost cats are also incapable of reading the mood." Su Yang sighed inwardly. After a moment of silence, Su Yang returned to looking at Qin Liangyu and said to her, "It's pointless trying to explain our situation to her, so how about we just continue and let her watch?" "Eh?" Qin Liangyu looked at him with wide eyes, and then she turned to look at Xiao Rong, who was staring at them intensively, looking exactly like a curious cat. "She'll learn about it sooner or later, and as I said before, there are some things that cannot be taught," Su Yang continued a moment later. "Xiao Rong's bloodlines are actually incredibly lustful creatures when awakened, but they usually live a pure life. However, if she follows me, she will eventually awaken. Once that happens, even I might have trouble satisfying her lust in my current state. Then we should avoid exposing her to these kinds of situations even more." Qin Liangyu said with a dazed face. "No, her lust won't awaken so quickly, or else her bloodline would wreak havoc in the divine heavens. By the time she awakens her lust, I'll be prepared." After pondering for a moment, Qin Liangyu nodded with a resolute expression on her face, and she said, "This is also part of being mature, so I might as well consider this as a lesson too." Qin Liangyu then turned to look at Xiao Rong and continued, "Xiao Rong, I am going to give you another lesson now. You can even call this the definition of becoming mature, since this is when most young ladies become a woman." "Okay." Xiao Rong nodded with enthusiasm, and she took a seat by the bed before staring at them intensively, patiently waiting for them to continue.